up, everybody? I'm SocialLust, and this is my partner. My partner in crime. We'll call her Ludi. I don't think I heard you.
Ludmilla.
Well, there you go. Ludmilla. I mean, they don't even know my real name. What would we call her? This is what I mean. I mean, it doesn't matter. We'll move past it. Yeah. I don't. Someone's like, oh, this water. She said you guys keep her safe. They can't hear you. They literally got like, but alright. I was gonna do a little intro with this song. Woo! Alright, welcome everybody. It's SocialLust. Welcome to the show. We're gonna shit on Ethan Klein for a little bit. You should have us on, Ethan, on your show. My girlfriend really wants to meet you and have, you know, maybe she can contribute to your clothing company. But let's continue. I need like my own background music that I can have like through the whole stream, like very subtle and low, so it's not just quiet at certain points like this. Let me take off the timer. Okay. And I also need headphones because when my headphones broke, and like because of that, I gotta pause the video to talk. Or else, you know, I can hear the thing. It sucks. The whole thing. But soon I'll have headphones. Alright, so we're gonna talk about Ethan Klein and Aaron Bushnell, the Air Force pilot that set himself on fire, and anti-Zionism, and what Ethan Klein thinks about all of this. So, you know what? Let's start with these guys.
Roasting Vosh, and generally I have no problem with Ethan's politics for the most part. I think he's progressive. I think he's hilarious. He's pretty relatable to your average person, and obviously he's been on YouTube for a long time. Unfortunately, when it comes to Palestine and Israel, him and his wife both, of course, thought he was doing a pretty good job roasting Vosh, and generally I have no problem with Ethan's America that didn't support what we were doing. Lots of people join the military, even voluntarily here in America, including Aaron Bushnell, someone we're going to be talking about. And it doesn't make them horrible monsters. Oftentimes, you know, as a result of their service, they realize the heirs of their militaries or countries' ways, right? Unfortunately, seemingly living in Israel and for Hila being a part of the IDF did not really do much to change their perspective on the Palestinian issue.
Because they're conscripted. You literally have to serve or else you go to prison or whatever.
We're about to see, because over the last few months, I think it's fair to say that Ethan's commentary has not quite been where we'd like it to be in regards to Palestinian liberation. That's, of course, what led to the split up between himself and Hassan, the end of that show. What was it called?
Yeah,
Leftovers, something like that.
Yeah, Leftovers.
Yeah, got pretty juicy, pretty ugly with some of Hassan's
They had a good
fans.
conversation, right? They had a good conversation where it seemed like they were reaching each other, but this is the kind of shit that frustrates the fuck out of me when it comes to Ethan Klein.
Forever, but
and I'm like, you know, it like the shut up and dribble analogy comes to mind. It's like, bro, react to a cat video. Shut the fuck up. Like, yeah, you're great if you're reacting to a dude that watches horse porn, but I don't want to hear any of your fucking analysis. You know what I mean? David Pakman meets grown-up Jonah Hill from Superbad. Like, I mean, it's just like frat boy wants to be serious but has no soul commentary. This shit set me off because this guy likes to like moralize.
Right, be like, oh, my government sucks. They're gonna go after me if I talk about.
Well, guys, let's just like, you know, look at this seriously every once in a while whenever it like behooves him. But then he'll also go so low whenever it behooves him. And I get that that's like streamer brain.
That's true.
But this one sent me off. It's like, bro, read the fucking room. Read the fucking
at least
room.
Stay quiet.
Don't
tweet about dumb
fucking
crap.
Life. Like this is
I don't
ridiculous.
make dumb jokes.
It's not even
Aaron
funny.
Like
it's just sad. It just shows how out of touch
you know what
you
I mean?
are.
Like, that's a really
Which I think is the biggest
joke.
problem with H3 as a show. While I'm giving criticism,
oh
please send me money while I show you how big my fucking mansion is. It's like, god damn it, these people are fucking out there. It's just it's just gross. It's just fucking gross. And I get that they have forced conscription in the IDF, but you should be appalled by what the fuck is happening if this is an organization that you spend time with. You know what I mean? You should be appalled. You should be calling it out first and foremost, louder than anybody else. It's absolutely ridiculous to be thinking that, oh, I'm going to take shots at this. Oh, well, guys, you can't be mad at me. I'm a settler colonialist. I was indoctrinated. Like, that's your fucking call out. Like, it fucking, come on, bro.
Yeah, of course. And obviously, you know, Ethan now lives in America. Zach
nice
and I also live in America, which is, of course, stolen land. But I just can't imagine if, like, a Native American individual, someone who was trying to protest the continued occupation of their territory, if they self-immolated to protest that, I can't imagine coming out here as an American and laughing at that person or making jokes at their expense. And I'm not trying to be the freaking, you know, tone police here or anything like that. I generally am a fan of and defender of kind of edgy humor, and there have been points in the past where I think Ethan has engaged in it to an extent that I find perfectly palatable, right? Like, I've seen clips of Ethan that other people were criticizing before, of him kind of joking about things that are off limits, and I think he's gotten away with it in the past. I think that when it comes to certain subject matters, that's kind of part of his appeal, is that he's like able to still find light in really fucked up situations. But I do think that given his recent commentary on Israel Palestine and the fact that him and his wife, who's also in this video, used to live in Israel and have been accused of spreading, you know, genocidal Zionist talking points, I do think this is a particularly bad look, especially this soon after the passing of Aaron Bushnell, when his memory is still so fresh and, you know, everyone's still trying to grapple with, you know, seeing that video, hearing his last words. It's horrific, right? So I just personally can't imagine finding myself in this place, but we'll let you guys weigh into after we watch this.
One more thing I want to add, Gavin, because you brought up a great point. Imagine for 1 second at Standing Rock or at any of these numerous protests about the mistreatment of indigenous people in this country. Somebody, you know, it would be, I guess, a better analogy to say somebody in intense solidarity with that sets themselves on fire, and then you're going to make jokes about the cause that they set themselves on fire for, undermining the efforts of the indigenous community to raise awareness to their plight, as you or me sit here on stolen fucking land, don't acknowledge it, talk about how, oh, well, we were born, we spent a lot of time here, we fell in love here, like, really hard for us to recognize the suffering that our country did. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not. I sit here every single fucking day and talk about it, right? I sit here every day and talk about the fucking 1 million people that we were responsible for the deaths of in Iraq, right? You know, and counting, by the way. You know what I mean? I sit here and talk about all the fucking crimes that are, the fact that we are directly responsible via our tax dollars and our electoral system.
This is a big reason why we as leftists care about these wars that are going on, especially like in the Middle East and stuff, because we went through this already in 9/11. We saw the terrorist attack happen, and then our country reacted so crazy by invading multiple countries that didn't have nothing to do with it, and toppling governments and just going, like, killing, like he said, 1 million Iraqis, still counting, because our country's so poor now, they're all starving and shit. So it's like, we've been through this before, and seeing 9/11 and all that, and seeing this shit happen again, and the Israeli government saying, this is our 9/11. They've literally said that. So they know that they're going to go crazy. You know what I mean? Like, they're using this as an excuse to, like, go fuck to the wall, like, crazy.
I just hate war. I'm not sure what to say.
No comment. No comment. You can say that. That's fine. I like, yeah, the war's bad.
What's responsible for the crimes that Israel's committing right now in the name of, like, fighting terrorism, just like we did. We gave them the script that they're running with right now. Okay, see, so we have culpability. Okay, so now for a second, imagine yourself in this place, right? I'm not taking shots at Ethan because it's fucking Israel. I'm taking shots because he looks like a really bad person in this clip.
Yep, absolutely. Let's get into this. Let's take a look. We'll try to watch a few of these different clips, but I think you guys are going to get the point pretty soon here. I think this was on, like, a members only live.
Just not really about politics.
What do you like talking about? Usually. We talk about a lot. We talk about aliens, politics. She doesn't like it though, but I do, and that's how you know.
I like politics. I just don't like talking about it.
Yeah, true. We also talk about. Come on. There's a lot.
TLC
R,
shows.
TLC. You always ask me questions about like, like we was gonna Google
History.
stuff. Yeah, history. Oh, we love talking about history.
Science.
And science. We love
Math,
science. Show them your
English.
shirt.
This is math and English. Which is math.
What does your shirt mean?
Means 17 years old, but I'm not.
She's not. She's 17 at heart.
Hard to always be 17.
Very energetic.
I'm stuck as a teenager.
Very energetic.
Stream maybe for his Patreon community or something like that. But as you guys can see, it's not an actual H3 live stream. He's not in studio or anything. This was like for fans only. So I'm not sure if he could get away with this without it getting clipped and going viral, but either way, someone certainly did clip it and posted it everywhere. So now we're all talking about it. Let's take a look.
Wow.
My first reaction
Not really.
is this. It was absolutely insane how he like stood the whole time. That was crazy. I didn't know how that's humanly possible. Again, not to put this uncouth, but he's a champ at fucking burning alive. I mean, that sounds bad, but he did it really good. Does that sound bad?
He said he's a champ for burning alive.
We have to make levity of things. Does that sound bad that he was really good? I mean, but I mean that. I mean that
that
as a
sounds
compliment.
weird. Like it sounds like you don't care about his life. It sounds like you're just. I don't know. It sounds mean.
What the fuck are you guys angry about, you
And then
weirdos?
people are angry now.
What did I do?
He'd
My
seen the
God,
chat,
stop.
and now he's like, "What are you
All
getting
I
angry
hear
about?
is Ethan no, but I don't understand what I've even fucking said.
What are you freaking about?
Is he saying
Oh, chewing?
champ
Yeah, I'll
like
stop that.
he's
Maybe they
brave
just talk about the
for
chewing.
doing that?
Could that be?
Yeah, that's probably it.
He is brave for doing.
Wait, what did I even
that.
say
hope
that to
he meant
mean? Like, give me a
with that.
fucking break. Holy shit. Didn't the guy do it because he wanted people to talk about it? Like, that's what I'm doing.
But then later on, he says he burns
My
good.
point is this.
He
First
burns
of all,
well,
I was
or something like
stunned
really
by
dumb,
That's an
very,
odd
the way that
statement.
He's like, "Oh, I applaud you for burning good," or
did
it's
the
like,
whole thing and
"What?"
shit. That was wild.
I don't know.
And
Very
really showed his true resolve to protest in that way. I can only imagine this. Just a horrific way to die. So pretty wild. That being said, I do not believe that it is good for people to be romanticizing or
Yeah, don't-
encouraging. I know it's not. I know people aren't doing that, but like
I
the way
don't
people are
encourage anyone to
romanticizing
do
it
that.
is
That's
kind of
terrible.
fucked up, in my opinion. The man,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
he killed himself, and I don't think we should ever
But that's not romanticizing.
talk about that issue
it. Like romanticizing
with
doesn't
any
that mean
kind
like
of reverence. Because let's be real,
you're
the
like
amount of people online who
"Oh,
are
this
talking about
happened."
it,
right?
this,
Like
like,
you dream
wonderful-
about
This
it.
is such
or something
bullshit
like
too,
that.
because
Yeah,
like
dream
there's a
about
very
it.
clear
It's
difference
very
between
creepy. Yeah,
committing suicide
I don't.
and
Yeah, I don't
doing
do
what
that. Screw
Aaron
that.
Bushnell did. Like, yes, technically he did kill himself, but it's not like he was just depressed and couldn't live another day. No, he was specifically taking his life in order to make a political statement, in order to try to get a change in policy. Usually if a depressed person or someone dealing with mental health kills themselves, it's usually not live streamed online to make a point regarding our foreign policy or our political policy in general as a country. So no one is romanticizing or celebrating just the idea of suicide. Like if you're feeling down, if you're down in the dumps, might as well just blow your brains out. Like no one is saying that. No one is
Yeah.
celebrating that. And
We
if
push
that's what
therapy a
happened to
lot. I
Aaron
mean, you pushed
Bushnell,
it on me
then
and I agree,
I
and it's
think
good.
most people would agree that it
I'm
was
glad I went through it.
unfortunate, tragic,
don't-
but definitely nothing
Yeah,
to
I know
celebrate.
no one's celebrating it, but I think it's a waste of life to
It is.
for protests. I just don't think that's the best way to protest.
I agree. Yeah, yeah. Yes, and it's not a good way to protest. But if it does happen, it was very brave, and like I couldn't do that. Like you know what I mean? Even for something that I really believe. Like, oh, am I gonna burn myself alive for to stop corporations destroying the planet? No. I wish someone would stop it, but like I'm not gonna
I don't think burning yourself helps. I don't think this form of protest helps.
Yeah, well, it gets people talking about it, and that's what
I-
helps. It gets
don't
the
think that
eyeballs
helps.
on the subject.
I don't think it helps. I don't think people talking about something helps.
Okay, that's fine.
Celebrate, just to mourn, right? The reason why it appears that people are quote unquote celebrating Aaron Bushnell's quote unquote suicide is because he's actually displaying an ounce of the courage that a lot of the rest of us who want to protest and make a difference in this regard.
Corner.
He actually had the level of courage to take his own life, to put
He's bringing them
himself,
up.
to sacrifice himself for this cause. And there's often this notion that protesters don't really have much to lose, that they're just privileged people that are standing on the side of the road screaming and virtue signaling and stuff like that. Aaron Bushnell, he actually sacrificed himself. He actually put his life on the line for this cause because it's mean that much to him, and because he viewed himself as being complicit in the atrocities in Israel. So I just don't think it's the same thing at all to call it even suicide. It has to be a different category altogether, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, we made the comparison to Thich Quang Duc, the Vietnamese monk who a lot of people think he was protesting the Vietnam War. He was actually protesting the U.S.-backed president of South Vietnam making it illegal to practice Buddhism or any other non-Christian religion in public, I believe. But anyway, he set himself on fire in protest, and nobody talks about the recollection of him, right? JFK talked about it as like one of the most moving like news images of all time or whatever. We we did a whole segment about it, and then it becomes the cover of one of the most seminal protest albums of all time, the debut Rage Against the Machine, right?
No matter what.
I could talk about going to the gym and not actually go there. I could spread the word. I could tell the whole world.
Doesn't matter if JFK talks about it, and more people are gonna hear about it, and then they're gonna move. And eventually we stop fucking with Vietnam. So I think it does move people and get the word out. It's not a good way.
Were they encouraging people to go out and commit suicide? No, they said this is what the supreme sacrifice looks like. This is what the penultimate sacrifice looks like. This man set himself on fire, and I think Chris Hedges, we've disagreed with him in the past. He wrote a really great article about this, and he talked about how this was an act of divine violence. And I thought at this point it was actually it kind of needed the religious context that he often puts his political analysis in. And he writes this. He says, Bushnell's self-immolation, one most social media posts and news organizations have heavily censored, is the point. It is meant to be seen. Bushnell extinguished his life in the same way thousands of Palestinians, including children, have been extinguished. We could watch him burn to death. This is what it looks like. This is what happens to Palestinians because of us. He then also recalls the image of Thich Quang Duc in Vietnam in 1963. But anyway, I thought that was a pretty dead-on way of phrasing it with respect, but also to put it into context. He was forcing us to look at ourselves and what we are doing, and what we are doing is unbearable to watch. I mean, I'll never get that fucking image out of my head, and that was the point. Yep. The point was to always see that fucking cop or Israeli embassy guard pointing a gun at his melted body as the muscles are falling off of his knee as he's collapsed to the ground, and there's smoke everywhere, and that's impossible to unsee. Yeah, it is crazy, right? And Ethan digs himself a bigger hole for the people who are like, wait, what's coming? Oh,
we're gonna watch.
You wait.
I mean, even if this topic about Ethan Klein isn't as bad, like it's not. He just made a bad joke, and he sounds like he doesn't really care about the guy or leftists that care about Palestine. But later on, you'll see that he goes into the deep end. He starts saying that like if you start criticizing Zionism, it's like the same thing as anti-Semitism, which it isn't. And the fact that he's equating the two is anti-Semitic for various reasons, because that means because Zionism is basically like a belief. It's like Christian like nationalism. It's like Jewish nationalism. It's like basically a belief that like you need to take over the whole of Israel, and you can't have other like nobody else. The Gazans, the Palestinians, the West Bank people. You got to rule all that, and it goes beyond that. It says you got to rule. Let me show you. Let me see if I can bring it up real quick. Like this is what they want basically. This is like their. Like at the end of it, this is what they want. They want to take over like all of this fucking land, because they think they think somehow it belongs to them because Jesus Christ was there 1,000,000 years ago or whatever. Hold up. Hello. Okay, no, gracias. Yeah, basically they like if you let their religion go to the full extent, it's gonna be this. It's like the Israel is America's perfect little military base. It grows over time. It gets stronger. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck? Oh my god, there's a name for it. I forgot what the name of the map is. So there's a name to that map. I don't know where I found the map before, but it was really, really good. Anyways, it extended to like the Sinai, and then I showed you, remember? Yeah, I just don't know where the hell what I searched up specifically. But it bothers me that I don't know it now. And then the Facebook's not working, so I had it on my Facebook. Let me see if it's on my phone real quick. Let's keep playing. Sorry, guys.
Almost like, I don't describe it. People are, trying to where I put it. People are idolizing him. More people are going to kill themselves. I mean, that's just a matter of fact. It's just there's just more people going to kill themselves. I don't think suicide's funny. I don't think it's anything that we should encourage. I think it's pretty much always bad. And while I can appreciate
he's the one that's about to make jokes about it, by the way, after saying that suicide isn't funny.
Dedication, I mean, to put it mildly, you know, if I can appreciate his dedication and his conviction, right? I mean, unbelievable. Self-immolation is literally suicide. He killed himself. Sorry, I don't know what that's another weird dialogue. They go, no. Everybody goes, yeah, we agree, suicide's bad, get help. But then they go, unless you're doing it for a good cause, then you can kill yourself. Like,
okay,
no,
well, shut up for a second, Ethan fucking Klein. Because you ever heard of the military?
Yeah, straight up.
Do you call every single one of them motherfuckers murderers? No, you don't. You'll be like, oh, well, he was in the military, right? Oh, it was forced conscription in the IDF.
Or in the IDF, like his fucking wife.
I was gonna get there. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, is your wife an assassin? Is your wife a terrorist? You know, is everybody that's in the United States military a murderer? You know, is that how you would read the situation? Or would you put one of your 10 fucking brain cells together and say, wow, this is actually a different context. This is different than an extremely depressed person that opened their veins in a bathtub. Yeah. Wow. I'm capable of looking at context and digesting with reason. Like, come on, bro.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if a truck was barreling towards you and your family and you stepped in the way of the truck to save your family or something, would that be
I don't know if
suicide?
a guy Ethan's size is going to derail a truck, Gavin, but I appreciate the analogy.
You know, the whole like trolley metaphor where it's like if you could sacrifice yourself to save a bunch of people. I mean, obviously, unfortunately, what Aaron Bushnell did is not going to result in an immediate ceasefire. It's not going to result in the end of the war in Gaza. But again, you have to consider it something more than just suicide, given his goals, given his ambition. He was not just sacrificing himself because, like I said, he was depressed or something. And we don't know the extent of his mental health. I have no idea to the extent that he was 100% depressed or not depressed. Who knows? Who cares? The point is, he clearly was trying to make a sacrifice in the same way that if I were to step in front of a freaking car barreling towards me and my partner to save her, it wouldn't be suicide, right? It would be a brave act of sacrifice and an attempt, at least, to save other people. And no one would go around
since Aaron Bushnell killed himself for peace. He's a pussy, he's a loser, he needs mental health, and he's like, well, you fucking loser, get out of here. But if you're a soldier and you die fighting, you're a hero and you deserve the fucking medals and you're a fucking, oh, get him, man. But if you kill yourself for like a reasonable, good moral cause, then it's like, oh, you fucking suck. you weren't a real soldier, bro. You know, it's like it demasculates you or something. It's like really weird the way we think about it.
And being like, make sure you don't do that.
Like it's honorable for you to die in the battle, fighting and killing children or whatever, brown people for capitalism or whatever the hell we're fighting for terrorism back in 1911. But if you kill yourself, suicide or like, you know what I mean, and saying, oh, Palestine or free Congo or free whatever, you know what I mean, then you're a loser. And you know, get mental health or whatever. And don't do it because it's a fad. You're gonna get other people to do it. But like, it's okay to get other people to join the military to kill people. That's okay. But then when you see what I mean? Like, it's very hypocritical the way Ethan Klein is fucking thinking.
That's fucking stupid. I can't believe he killed himself. Everyone would be like, what an absolute hero. This man gave his life for other people to try to prevent the deaths of others. And I think that's probably the closest analogy I can draw to Aaron Bushnell, but times like a million. Because think about how many people's lives are actually on the line. It's not just a family that a car is speeding towards. It's an entire fucking country. It's an entire fucking country which is being starved and slaughtered and bombed relentlessly while they try to access the scraps of food that are, you know, airdropped into their country. If you were in that position, wouldn't you want at least one or two motherfucking Aaron Bushnells to do what Aaron Bushnell did here in America, where we're all so privileged and where we have everything? Wouldn't you want at least one person to do what Aaron Bushnell did to make the point that he made? You know, to sacrifice himself for you and your fucking people? Like, of course you would. Of course you'd be praying that at least one motherfucker would do that shit.
It's kind of crazy, Gavin, because I am not a religious guy. We've talked about this a lot.
You know what that says? Can you read that? That says, gato fumador, a smoker cat. It's like a cancer cat. It smokes. No, this is the person who recorded Ethan. Because this was in a public episode. This was a behind-the-scenes episode, so you had to be a member of his show, which I'm not anymore. And then he leaked it to the people. So whoever, good job, guy.
But I seem to be the only one who has drawn the conclusion.
Not right, because you have to pay the person to see that. So if the whole world gets to see it, then you're not paying him for his work.
They sped it up though, so it's like they messed with the footage, so it's not the same.
Oh,
you know, it's not like a clips, like no edit, nothing. They sped it up, so it's like harder to hear what he's saying. He's talking so fast, blah, blah, blah. But you can make out the little words, you know. So because of that, he was striking people. Ethan Klein was striking people, but too many people posted it, and like it blew up. Like it got out of his hand. You know what I mean?
Or looked at again the
Yeah.
context around all of us, and I'm like, wait, y'all told me that there were like over 100 million people of the Christian faith in America a few weeks ago, and that blew my mind because I was like, wait, half the country believes in God, and they were like, no, way more believe in God. Half the country identifies as Christian, and I was like, holy shit, no way. And then I looked it up, and it's true. Like a fuckload of people identify as Christian, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guys.
And Christians believe. Listen to this. Christians believe. You ever heard of the end times thing? Christians believe that Jesus Christ will come back. God will come back to earth when Israel is ruled by like specifically Jewish people, and they think that's gonna set off a quest line in humankind. We unlock the new quest where Jesus comes, and then like Jesus fights the devil on earth, and we all die. But the Christians get saved, and the Jews die with us. The Jews, atheists, communists, socialists, we all die together. That's good though. I want to die with you guys. But isn't that ironic how the Christians get saved, but all the Jews die? What the fuck? We're supporting a death cult. A literal death cult.
It's like the most
And Ethan
popular
Klein doesn't
religion in
realize it.
America. Okay?
A lot of Christians.
I'm not here to lecture these folks, but I think I have kind of a pass because culturally people.
Jesus died on the cross. They like some deaths they approve that he died to
Say it
save.
again.
They approve that Jesus died on the cross to save the peoples from their sins. That's what I
Yeah,
hear. I don't know
exactly.
much about it,
He's
'cause
gonna
I'm
say
not
that. He's
about
gonna
it.
mention that.
People like to describe America as a Christian nation. So let me wax for you guys for a second because you guys are pretty thick in the head. Your entire religion is based off of a guy who sacrifices himself. Sacrifices what? Sacrifices his life for the atonement of the sins of others. It's literally the whole point of the religion. It's the whole ideology is built upon that. They'll be like, he made the ultimate sacrifice. God sacrificed his only son. This is shit you'll hear if you watch movies where one of the characters is of the Christian faith, right? Okay, great. Then they will immediately forget all of that shit in any moment of practice. It's one of the most interesting sociological phenomenons I've ever seen in my entire life, because they will just rally and cry, and you'll like talk about how you don't believe in God, and they'll all start fucking shaking and shivering. And then the second their religion comes into play, like in practice, like you leave them alone to their own devices, it's like it never fucking came up once. These people will go to church once a week and read scripture. I'm just like, I don't know what happens. It goes inside this ear and goes out the other, and then people leave and they just start drinking the wine and fucking. I don't know, but it is an interesting phenomenon. I understand that Ethan Klein is, I believe, of the Jewish faith. They don't believe in that, so it wouldn't be a perfect analogy for him. But a lot of the other people making this case, I want you to identify.
There's different kinds of Christians out there. There are some that donate, that do help, that adopt children.
That's true. It's a good bad cop, good cop, bad cop. I say the bad cop stuff, and then you're like, well, there's some good ones. That's good.
No, that's
like
not what I mean. I'm sorry.
No. I don't mean it in a bad way. Like, there are good Christians that donate.
Okay.
That's what I mean. Like, you're.
I was gonna say, I'm not trying to argue with you.
No, I'm not arguing. I'm just saying, like, I'm the bad cop, and you're the good cop. You're like the nice one, I'm the bad one. I'm like, oh, these Christians suck, and they don't do anything, and they don't even believe in there. And then you're like, some of them do, they're nice, and I agree. That's true. Some are.
Don't attack O'Brien.
No,
if you're Christian, stay away.
Identify that, because I haven't seen a lot of you other than, Chris Hedges coming out and being like, hey, there's a religious tone to this.
That's a great point, Zach. That's a great point. Yeah, Chris Hedges did such a great job writing about this. I urge everyone to read his article on the subject of Aaron Bushnell. Let's go to the second clip, because
are you guys Christian in the chat?
This
Anyone
gets
Christian?
Worse. We just showed you guys the intro so far, so let's watch this.
They're heathens.
I'm sorry. Suicide bad. I don't think we should romanticize it. Haven't seen anyone romanticize it? Are you fucking kidding me? Have you been online? Everybody's glamorizing it. Oh my god, how can you even disagree with me on that? That's crazy.
Ethan says
like
he's been online, but like where? I'm not on Twitter. Is he on Twitter? This isn't Twitter. Twitter's cancer. Why would you be on Twitter? You're gonna see the worst of humankind on Twitter. Like, it's like, why get off of Twitter, dude? He's like mentally brain. He's like on the internet all day, like me, but on Twitter. That's like cancer. Like, that's Elon Musk's thing. He bought it. That's where all the Nazis are, and all like the literal pedos and shit. They're all on Twitter.
A lot of people online who are like, I understand why people want to go like, he's a hero. Like, I understand that because he made this ultimate sacrifice the most gruesome way possible, right? And so I understand the impulse of being like, I don't want that to, I want to honor that sacrifice. Monks do self-immolation. Yeah, I know. When they're like under
and they were bringing up the Jesus Christ sacrificing himself, because Baron Bushnell sacrificed himself, like Jesus Christ, literally, like that's literally. I could see. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize why they brought up the whole suicide call, like how Jesus killed himself. But Aaron Bushnell killed himself for a good cause, and they're like, nah. Like, I will tell Jesus, don't kill yourself. That's sad, please. I love you. I want you to live. But if he still did it, I'm not gonna be like, oh, you fucking loser. You're gonna spread it to other people. You're gonna kill themselves like you. You know what I mean?
Well, I still think he shouldn't have killed himself. None of them should have.
Yeah, I agree.
Tyrannical oppression by the Chinese and have literally no way for the voices to be heard.
But then he says you can kill yourself if you're being oppressed by the Chinese and have no way to be heard. So what if you're being oppressed by the capitalist corporations in America that don't cover any of the good news? Like any of the actual, like the IC, like the International Court, all the shit, the war crimes that Israel's doing, they like always talk about it with a half-past tone. Like, a missile came out of nowhere and blew up all these children. We don't know who did it. And then it's obvious that it was like fucking Israel who did it. Like, they always do that. So Aaron Bushnell burned himself to make more light of the situation, so more people talk about it and maybe get their politicians to do something. Because our media doesn't talk about it enough, and you know what I mean? And they're owned by the politicians and the corporation to donate and buy ads and shit. So he's doing this to get more views on this subject, but it's bad because you killed yourself the wrong way. You didn't get shot by a Hamas. fighting. You know what I mean? You convert yourself alive. You didn't fight Hamas. Your thoughts?
I don't know. I still stick to my point. Like, I don't know what he's. I think it's wrong that he says that if you're Chinese and your voice can't be. I think that part.
That's wrong, right?
Yeah.
Okay, at least you agree with that, because I think that's a little weird. Like, you should be able to do that anywhere. Like, anywhere where there's media censorship or authoritarian governments. Or...
No, I'm just saying you shouldn't kill yourself even if you're Chinese. I think it's wrong to kill yourself for any cause.
Okay. But, like, what if you're, like, okay, what if you're literally fighting a revolution in China? Oh, you're revolting for actual socialism or something, and you get shot and killed, being like in The Man in the High Castle, like, you know how she was part of the rebels, and she was. What if she got killed, but just fighting a good fight? Will that still be like, oh, well,
getting killed is not voluntary. You're not killing yourself.
True.
That's different.
That's true. That is dumb. You got me. That is a dumb argument. Well, good. I tip my hat off to you, debate lord.
But I mean, the Palestinian cause is for sure.
But yeah.
Plenty talked about.
But what if then, like, what if?
Oh, it's plenty talked about. It's plenty.
Still be like,
no one should kill themselves.
Okay.
Still no.
So you're not a hypocrite. That's good. You just. Yeah. Oh, okay.
He fucking talked about. Okay. Also, I'm gonna go off on this fucking idiot.
I'm saying as long as you're not killing yourself, it's fine. So I don't think there's any cause that you can kill yourself for.
Me or anybody?
Anyone.
Okay.
You meaning all people.
Everybody. All humans. Yeah, that's good.
Suicide as a protest is stupid in a free country that has freedom of speech. There are 1,000 other ways to protest. This is not it. Instead of talking about Palestine, we are talking about him. I don't know, dude. Can you walk and chew bubblegum at the same time? What the fuck are we talking about with his entire protest model? You're like, I don't know if you need to be galaxy brained. I don't know if you need to feel woke. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Let me reason with you. We are talking about his protest on behalf of his opposition to the United States Air Force, which he was a part of, a member. He was an Air Force airman, and the Air Force is literally perpetrating and aiding and abetting in an ethnic cleansing in the Gaza Strip right now. Okay, that's what he was protesting. He literally said, "I cannot be a part of this." That was what he was protesting. He was an active participant. Okay, I don't know what you need to do to get it through your thick fucking skull that people are dying left and right over there. Yeah, no shit. We're not telling everybody go outside and set yourself on fire. I did an entire fucking tirade about how we need fighters to be fighting. Okay, but what he did right there was he upped the ante. He said, "Oh, you know what I'm saying?"
One day, my dad literally came up to me and he said, "An aunt of yours, her son is a drone operator." And I was like, "What type of drone?" You know, and then he mentioned, "Oh, the military." I was like, "Oh, fuck, those drones. That makes sense." I never did it though. I don't feel comfortable doing military shit.
He said, "This is a dire situation and you cannot look away." We don't know what he saw. We don't know what he knew. We don't know what comes through the grapevine as a member of the Air Force. But we knew that he was like, "I cannot fucking be complicit in this." Imagine where he had to be in his heart, in his soul.
See, look, and now this is coming out after his death. U.S. Airman Aaron Bushnell claimed to have classified knowledge of U.S. forces fighting in the Gaza tunnels.
He had to feel like he was a member of the fucking Nazi party. He had to feel like he was a member of the fucking, the fucking SS. He had to feel horrible about himself, right? So that's what he did. He protested a horrible, horrible thing that he himself would have been complicit in. So shout out to you, Zinaj, but you got to wear the dunce cap.
And according to him, American forces were and are complicit in what's going on. This has not been officially confirmed yet, but apparently he claimed to have classified knowledge of U.S. forces fighting in Gaza on the night before setting himself on fire. As you guys can see here, Aaron Bushnell claimed he had secret knowledge of U.S. troops fighting in Hamas tunnels under Gaza just hours before setting himself on fire in an extreme act of protest against Israel. The 25-year-old airman who served in Air Force's 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing, but had also interacted with radical anarchist groups online, LOL, ranted that he had top secret clearance for military data in the call to his friends Saturday night. He told me on Saturday that we have troops in those tunnels, that it's U.S. soldiers participating in the killings, claimed his friend, whose ties to Bushnell have been verified by the post. So obviously we'll wait to find out more information on this. We'll wait for any sort of confirmation if that is going to happen. Obviously, I don't think the U.S. military is likely to say, of course, yeah, that's absolutely what's going on. But who knows? The point is that, yeah, this guy had more knowledge of what was happening than any of us do. He probably had seen and heard things that made it very hard to sleep at night, let alone just go about your daily fucking life if you give a shit about other human beings. And you know, continuing to go to work where you're aiding in their slaughter. Are you kidding me? Yeah, so that's what I would say. I think that
also, I banned this fucking idiot. Biden has been pushing for ceasefire for weeks. We can't reach you. I'm sorry, Zinon. You're not banned from watching. You're just banned from commenting because I can't handle you right now. Thank you for the $2.
Anyway, I think in this specific in this specific instance, given the role that Aaron Bushnell was playing and the information that he was privy to, I actually think it was a downright heroic form of protest. Not that I would encourage anyone else to do the same thing. But yeah, let's go on to this next clip.
And I think that's just like mental illness can be present, and
Ethan Klein repeatedly calls Aaron Bushnell mentally ill and oddly scathing, says in his mind.
I don't understand.
He made the ultimate sacrifice for what he thought was a righteous cause of paramount importance. He adds that it might be okay if a Palestinian had done it. So he thinks it's okay if you're a Palestinian, you fucking burn alive, and then the media doesn't pick up on it because you're in Palestine and no one cares about you. But then if you're an American, so he values American lives more than fucking other people, basically. What I'm getting from this, from other countries. He said China. Oh, in China you can burn yourself alive, but not in. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't like what he's cooking in his head.
It's because you're right. It is because they're carving out a moral barrier for themselves to say, oh yeah, well in this case, killing yourself is great. But it's not. That's because it's not suicide. It is. He killed himself. He has family. He has friends, presumably. He has people that are going to be affected by him leaving the planet in that way. It's suicide. It literally is suicide.
I don't know how loud this is going to be on the microphone.
I just gotta quickly
Who's the
switch
service member?
settings.
Okay.
Because I talk louder than you.
I can talk pretty loud.
Okay, go.
So I think it's not fair that he thinks that Palestinian people, it's fine if they burn for protest. I don't think it's okay for anyone to burn for protest or kill themselves in any way other than burning.
I would rather him say that, what you just said. But I don't know.
I'm not too familiar with the different kinds of protests, but I think killing yourself is the least desirable way for, in my opinion, to do protest.
That makes sense. I agree. It's not nice. It's traumatic.
Did he have any Did he have any? What the United States military was? The ones that like killed 1 million fucking Iraqis like a decade before. Why did he join? I think he was mentally ill. I think what you said is right, Olivia. I think he did. I think he did something that in his mind didn't hurt anybody, and he made the ultimate sacrifice for what he thought was a.
This is such rich boy
a righteous
bullshit.
Cause of paramount importance.
Can you pause it for a second, dude? Why do people join the military? Because they're fucking poor, asshole. Because they're fucking poor and desperate. Oh, why did he go to prison if he wasn't a bad person, huh?
Let me look up the poverty draft real quick, love. I can show you. So the poverty draft is an actual thing that the military does. They mostly get poor people because they offer you a lot of opportunities. You know what I mean? Which is smart. Do military recruiters disproportionately target communities of color and the poor? Recently, I stumbled upon an online exchange about why young people join the military. One participant who claimed to be on the left made the following assertion: disenfranchisement is the reason why kids join the military, and they know going in that it will give them opportunities to legally and with the blessing of the government. Well, some people do want to kill and torture other people in order to give them. So it's saying some people want it for that, and then some people want it because they're poor and it gives you a lot of opportunities. Among the many youth I have met over the years as an educator, I've countered recruitment activists I have never met anyone who enlisted so that he or she could kill, torture, or hate. While disenfranchisement may be an accurate word for why some youth enlist, the claim that working class youth sign up so that they can legally kill or torture, I don't hear people say that. I just hear people say because they're poor and they need the money. All volunteers, military, and works reveals biases separate Americans into different class and race. On the opposite end, the political spectrum, conservatives claim that the most youth enlist due to patriotism and a desire to serve one's country is equally misleading. The Pentagon's own survey shows that something vague and abstract called duty to country motivates only a portion of enlistees. But the vast majority of young people wind up in the military in different reasons, ranging from economic pressure to the desire to escape dead-end situations at home. So, like, let's say someone has like abusive parents, a military is a better option. You know, you have more people around you. Your bunkmates or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you have better friendships. So yeah, economic pressure, home issues. When mandatory military service ended in 1973, the volunteer military was born. By the early 1980s, the term poverty draft had gained currency to connote the belief that enlisted ranks of militaries were made up of young people with limited economic opportunities. Today, military recruiters react angrily to the term poverty draft. They don't like it. They parse terms in order to argue that the poor are not good recruiting material because they lack the necessary education, any interference that those currently serving do not, because they have few other options, is met with a sharp rebuke. So they're saying, no, they're not smart enough. But, like, honestly, if they hire cops with low IQs, I'm sure they could do it with the military.
If it's voluntary, it's just whoever wants to go.
Yeah, I think it is voluntary now. But back in the day, they would draft you. I'm glad that's gone.
Well, if we have a war, they might make
if we have a war, they might draft us.
They might make it a requirement.
Mandatory.
Mandatory draft.
Yeah, there you go. Mandatory.
Have you ever heard of a fucking country before? Have you ever heard of socioeconomic fucking constrictions? Like, it's maddening, right? This dude's recording this from a mansion in LA. Like, it's like, dude, and did your wife have any fucking illusions about the IDF when she signed up for that shit? Huh? Did she fucking?
He just said Aaron Bushnell should have thought about joining the military. You know, he should. Oh, Iraq. Did you not know about Iraq? He said that. He literally said, "Oh, did you not know about Iraq?" Let's put it back in there.
I think he did something that in his mind didn't hurt anybody, and he made the ultimate sacrifice.
It's like, did your wife not know about the IDF?
This is such rich boy
a righteous
bullshit.
cause of paramount importance.
Can you pause it for a second? Dude, why do people join the military? Because they're fucking poor.
Killed himself. He has family, he has friends, presumably.
Understand the logistics surrounding like the definition of it.
It's because you're right. It is because they're carving out a moral barrier for themselves to say, oh yeah, well in this case, killing yourself is great. But it's not. That's because it's not suicide. It is. He killed himself. He has family. He has friends, presumably. He has people that are going to be affected by him leaving the planet in that way. It's suicide. It literally is suicide. He was a service member. Well, then, did he have any delusion about what the United States military was? The
Bro,
ones that, like,
what
killed
is
a
your
million
fucking
Iraqis,
military
like,
doing? The IDF in Israel.
I think he was mentally ill. I think what you said is right, Olivia. I think he did. I think he did something that in his mind didn't hurt anybody, and he made the ultimate sacrifice for what he thought was a.
This is such rich boy
a righteous
bullshit.
Cause of paramount importance.
Can you pause it for a second? Dude, why do people join the military? Because they're fucking poor, asshole. Because they're fucking poor and desperate. Why did he go to prison if he wasn't a bad person, huh? Have you ever heard of a fucking country before? Have you ever heard of socioeconomic fucking constrictions? Like, it's maddening, right? This dude's recording this from a mansion in LA. Like, it's like, dude, and did your wife have any fucking illusions about the IDF when she signed up for that shit? Huh? Like, did she fucking protest that shit? No. Oh, well, is your wife mentally like? What are you talking about, bro? What are you talking about? Why did he sign up? Did they have any illusions about the fucking killing of a million Iraqis? No, he probably was fucking desperate and fucking 17 years old and put his name on a dotted line when they said they would give him health care for the rest of his life and college tuition. Yeah. Oh, I'll be in the Air Force because that's the one where you're least likely to get fucking killed. Oh, maybe I'll join the Navy, but I don't like, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I'll learn how to be a pilot and have a job when I fucking get out of here. You know, I'll just put my head down for 4 years. won't have to do anything bad, and then I'll get out of here. Of course, that's misguided. Of course, that's not advice that I would give him. He fucking learned that the hard way, bro. He learned that harder than anybody else. How the fuck are you to lecture him about that shit? You know what I mean? Mentally ill. Yeah, dude, the United States fucking military will make you mentally ill. If you have a soul, if you have a conscience, if you are capable of human empathy, they will force you to do things that you cannot fucking ration. You cannot fucking grapple with. They will ask you to sign your name on fucking horrible, horrible things. And that is why the best among us are willing to sacrifice themselves to remind us of the horrors that we're fucking responsible for as a nation. You know what I mean? And of course, it doesn't have to come in the form of self-immolation. And they keep being intentionally obtuse about this. Dude, do you not understand that thousands and thousands and thousands of Palestinian children, babies, are being mutilated and destroyed as we speak? Okay, so why don't you pearl clutch about that? I would like to see you guys spend a lot more of your time talking about how we need a ceasefire now.
Now we're dropping airdrops of aid, which is good, but it's because Israel's not letting the trucks of aid in. They're blocking them all at the border, basically saying, oh, you got a metal pipe in there? Oh, they can use that for a gun or a bomb. Now turn around. Use wood pipes next time. They make up any little excuse. Like, oh, you got a toaster? Oh, that could be used to make a fucking IED. You can use that toaster. Oh, you got a fucking, you got a water filter? Oh! You can make a, I don't know. They'll think of something. You can make a fucking butt plug out of that. It'll be enjoyable for the Hamas. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Humanizing the people of Palestine, talking about aid, talking about the fact that they were.
I was gonna say, dropping aid through the air costs way more money. So there's tax money going. I mean, which I'm fine, but it's like, dude, force Israel to let the trucks in. What are we doing? We're now gonna spend more taxpayer money to ship in less aid. Because airplanes cost a lot just to fly and everything. Because we're scared to tell Netanyahu, like, we're going to not give you more guns if you keep doing this. It's like, dude, come on.
We're shooting fucking desperate people to get food aid days ago. Just mercilessly executing people. When we look, I want you to look at the fucking.
And the whole airdrops of aid happened after a truck of aid went in. And there was Israeli tanks nearby, and then like when people were going on to grab anything because they're all starving and dying, the tanks started shooting everybody like into the pile of people trying to get food. So it's like whenever food does get in there, they get blown up and killed. It's like, Jesus Christ.
And photographs of the individuals who have not been able to get food for weeks, so they've been living off of liquid IV fluid, and they look like it's horrifying. They look like the people who have been liberated from concentration camp because they're so deep into famine. The way that the babies who are malnourished look, the thought. Marinate with the thought while you think about Aaron Bushnell's suffering and pain, which is what he wanted us to think about was their suffering and pain. Think about giving birth to a child under these circumstances, having to undergo a C-section, bring that child into this world, unimaginable pain, no medication. You're fucking terrified. You don't even know if it's moral to bring a child into this fucking world. Then you're trying to raise it. Then you've got another kid next to you that's screaming and writhing in agony because they have to amputate his fucking leg with no medication, with no medical supplies that's proper. Okay, this is what's going on. Okay, but I don't see you fucking pearl clutching about that. I don't hear you talking enough about the mentally ill Biden administration because they are signing off on this suffering, because they're accelerating this suffering. I don't hear you talking about the siege in Rafah that they're about to fucking completely from the north to the south of Gaza. They're about to have bulldozed completely. So what Aaron Bushnell did was to force us to continue this conversation. You know, when we are 4-5 months out from the invasion, when it started to go into the back of people's minds, he said, I refuse to allow that. We have to talk about that. That's not mentally ill. We are mentally ill. We are mentally ill as a society that allows this. Okay, and it's not glamorizing the act of suicide. This was a serviceman. We've talked about how we don't go around calling all the when you talk about Obama, do you call him a fucking murderer and assassin? No, you don't, even though you should, right? That's just not the way that we fucking describe these things. This was a political action that was done by a member of the services, the Air Force, that was perpetrating international crimes. Okay, so we have to unpack all of that. Okay, and the unwillingness to do so, but then the quick oh, what? Did he not know about Iraq and the million? Bro, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, bro. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, okay? Because I've watched you cape for fucking a lot of people who were responsible for a lot of bad. A lot of people who were responsible for the fucking, oh, you know, Biden, he's not so bad. Remember when that was your line, Ethan?
You know what I mean? But at the same time, I think people need to be absolutely careful with how they fucking put him on a pedestal, because you're going to end, because more people are going to kill themselves. And I don't think suicide should ever be glamorized. Even when a fucking monk does it, and it's like, wow, it should be more like, dude, that's fucking crazy. And it's horrible also.
I feel like if he thinks that suicide should never be glamorized, then he should say that it shouldn't be glamorized in Palestinians either. So Palestinians shouldn't commit suicide for the cause.
Yeah, exactly. So not even his arguments are not even good in that. He doesn't even agree with that.
He's about to reveal that he has no
understanding of empathy. Why the fuck isn't there tons of other people doing it? I'm sorry, you don't set yourself on fire. If he's a martyr, Jesus Christ. Some of y'all are lost. I don't know what to say. Some of y'all life sometimes wonders if, like, I don't know, man. Chat is so fucking weird.
He's moments away from calling his chat Hamas.
Yeah, and it's like, if someone joins the military and they die in a war, even if it's an unjust war, most people, I feel like, including Ethan's response to that, would be like, that's a tragedy. He's a hero. He gave his life trying to defend the country, even if he, was propagandized into that position. No one sits here and says, what a stupid thing to do. We can't talk about this. We can't celebrate it. Other people are going to do that too, even though that's actually something that people do. Sign up, enlist for the military, go fight in unjust wars, and quote unquote sacrifice themselves for this country, quote unquote. Again, as you said, Zach, even though they then come home only to see on the television that the war was all for oil and we were lied into it and that it was all bullshit in the first place. That's what actually happens. This Aaron Bushnell guy, unlike the vast majority of Air Force members, Navy members, and military members, he actually sacrificed his life for a real cause. He actually sacrificed his life in the attempt to save other people. That's what they tell you happens when soldiers die. That's what they tell you happens when fucking military members, come home in caskets, that they sacrifice their life for other people to defend us or others, innocence, freedom, etc. That's what Aaron Bushnell actually fucking did. But we can't talk about it because suicide. This is so fucking lame.
Yep.
People under tyrannical, so Palestinians. No, but there are people whose voices can't be heard. Also, the dude's not even Palestinian. If he was, you know what I mean? Like, nobody in Palestine is like going to the fucking barbed wire fence of the wall and setting themselves on fire. If someone did that, it'd probably be like, wow, that's fucking, like, that would hit me maybe harder. Again, not to trivialize it. However, you have to be mentally ill to set yourself on fire. Especially, I'm sorry. Then why aren't people going and doing it? There's a billion people talking about Twitter, so why isn't there a whole fucking Congo line of people self?
So here we go. This is where he catches himself so bad. So when he says, oh, okay, well, if you're Palestinian, then you can set yourself on fire.
Y'all?
Okay, well, for some reason, that's like, oh, you have to be mentally ill to do it. Well, I guess if you're fucking like, I don't understand. You can't have human empathy. You can't be like have solidarity. You can't like feel, it really, he really like slips into like a really like horrible racist trope here of like worthy and unworthy victims. Like, you know what I mean? It reminds me of when somebody like talked about like, the difference between like Americans and Iraqis to Noam Chomsky, and he like fucking like lashes out. He's you know what I mean? He's like, what's the difference between us? We bleed when we're cut. We cry when our children are killed. Like, I'm unaware of any fucking difference between us. You know what I mean? And so he's like, oh well, I guess I can understand.
Yeah.
It.
By
like,
the way,
and,
let me show you guys an image. I didn't want to show when my girlfriend was here because it's very disturbing and gross. Look at this shit, guys. Look what's going on over there, dude. Look at this shit, bro. What the fuck is this shit, dude? What the fuck are you doing to a country where kids are fucking starving to death? They're starving to death. They look like Holocaust victims. And then Ethan's gonna stand there and fucking defend Israel and start attacking leftists for criticizing him about. Yo, shut the fuck up, you loser, dude. Holy shit, you fell from grace, my dude. You fell from grace, bro. You fucking fell. You tumbled. Psst. Fucking disgusting, man.
Common line that people were saying, like, he's not even Palestinian. I tweeted about this the other day. You know, it's like, dude, you don't understand. You don't understand. We have one globe, only one of them. We have one Earth, okay? And the United States military has its fucking greasy fingers in all of it. So if you were a part of the United States military, the world becomes like it's a global operation, okay? So it doesn't really matter what point on the map. Might as well have been fucking Texas. Do you understand? So that's crazy. And then as he fearmongers and he pretends to be so aghast at people who even go so far as to talk about this, to go so far as to talk about the political message that Aaron Bushnell was trying to, explicitly force us to reckon with. He's like, why isn't there a conga line of people setting themselves on fucking fire? It's like, bro, you literally just took your own point and you crumpled it up and you threw it in the trash, because we are now 100% aware that you don't care about this. You are just...
So first, Ethan Klein says, bro, don't talk about this. You're going to get other people to kill themselves for the cause. If you keep talking about this, other people are going to kill themselves. Why are you talking about this? People are going to kill themselves. Mental health. Don't do it. Don't talk about this. People are going to kill themselves. And then he's like, why aren't there a bunch of conga line of people killing themselves over this? Is this even a real issue? Where's the conga line of people killing themselves? Bro, shut the fuck up, dude.
Trying to make some self-righteous fucking points. You don't want to talk about how this guy saw such horror there, that this guy saw, and what, how did he see it? He didn't go there. Yeah, he has a cell phone, bro. It's 2024. We've all seen this shit. We all see this shit every single fucking day. If it doesn't make you unwell, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. I don't know what the fuck to tell you, right? It's like, these things will make you sick. Okay? Do you not understand that if you send a bunch of people to a war zone, that they will come back fucked up? That they will come back with post-traumatic stress? That they will be fucking anxiety ridden? That they're gonna fucking not understand how to regulate themselves in a world where they're not under constant duress? That's happening to every single fucking person in Palestine as well. Okay? Do you understand how that shit fucking works? It happens to you as well when you're, one, a serviceman like Aaron Bushnell was, and two, when you are exposed to these images. You can get PTSD just by looking at shit all day long. Ethan, if you did some homework for once in your fucking life, you might have looked into the studies of the workers at Facebook who are responsible for moderating content on the platform. And all they do all day fucking long, Ethan, is they have to look at images that are really fucked up. And they say, is this allowed? No, it's not. Oh, is this allowed? No, it's not. I'll report this. This looks like child pornography.
I know,
oh, this is a beheading from ISIS. Oh, no,
I know.
Oh, no, this is just a picture of a family at the swimming pool. This is allowed to go. Right? That's their job all day. And then you give them therapy for a second, and you let them talk about their job, and you see that their anxiety numbers are through the roof, and that these people are also showing signs of post-traumatic stress disorder. You can get that through the imagery, right? So now imagine that you're an individual who feels, culpable for this because you're in the Air Force. You might be forced to go and do this. That's in your mind as you scroll through TikTok and you watch the horrors and you see what's being done. Yes, that will make your brain fucked up. And it forced him to do an unimaginable action. But it's not because his brain chemistry was fucked up. It's because the world is fucked up and the situation around him was fucked up, and it led him to do that insane, tragic, and powerful action. Okay, so let's just at least call it for what it is.
Yeah, I think Fuzzy Slippers made a really good point too. He had a high security clearance. They screened for mental illness. Yeah.
But yeah, Lesbot. I feel like holy crap too. That's how I feel. I feel like Jesus Christ. Like, I don't know how to react to this stuff that's going on right now. It's crazy.
Aaron Bushnell is actually fairly high up. That's how he has had access to this classified information about American troops fighting in Gaza, participating in the genocide with boots on the ground. So while certainly he was, probably unwell, as many people are, especially people that serve in the military, from the PTSD aspects of doing this for a job and being, bombarded by information and images. This is not like some crazy lunatic. No, he wouldn't have got the job in the first place if he was genuinely deranged. To have that job in the first place and receive that level of classified information, there's pretty extensive psychological evaluations. Fortunately, there's not for the United States president, but there is for a guy like Aaron Bushnell. So yeah, not like we're just talking about some demented fucking person on the side of the road screaming. Let's watch a bit more of Ethan. I think this is the last one. I think did we get through all of this one? I think we still have a bit more to get through on this one.
On fire. If he's a martyr,
we're gonna get through this, guys. Don't worry. Stick with me.
I know what to say. Some of your life sometimes wonders if, like, don't know, man. Chat's so fucking weird. I agree.
Yeah, if he's not a martyr, then I don't know what the definition of a martyr would be. I mean, when we talk about people like freaking Joan of Arc, for example, someone else who supposedly sacrificed himself to make a point. Obviously, you mentioned Jesus Christ, Zach. Some of the most famous sort of heroes throughout history
like
are people that did very similar things. So I just don't understand what this refusal to comes from. I think it has to be an ideological reason, right, Zach? I have a strong feeling that if Ethan Klein had agreed with Aaron Bushnell, if he had been more sympathetic to Aaron Bushnell's ideology as it relates to Palestine, that being that we should free Palestine, I have a feeling that Ethan Klein would agree that this man is a hero, and he wouldn't be out here labeling him as mentally ill. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And for some proof to that extent, let's take a look at this other clip recently from H3. I think this was from just the other night. This was really odd.
Last night.
Yeah. Talking about Zionism. And here Ethan basically conflates anti-Semitism and Zionism, which of course is is anti-Semitic.
Yep.
Let's take a look.
I'm going to say this because it pissed me the fuck off. And being an anti-Semite openly and proudly is now likes on Twitter. Rogan, she tweeted out, she goes, I have a problem with my Zionist therapist. Just call him a fucking Jew. I'm sorry.
Zionism and Jewish are not the same thing. You cannot mix these. You can't mix these two things. They're like opposing. It's like trying to mix socialism with communism. Lesbot says it was totally callous of him to say, and I do think he has a bias for Israel. Lesbot, I agree with you, Lesbot. I think Ethan Klein. Look, oh, my camera froze. Uh-oh. Listen, Lesbot, I agree with you. Lesbot, I think that Ethan Klein, is my camera working now? Okay, I think Ethan Klein after October 7th, and he dropped Hassan, so he dropped Leftovers, right? And then he also definitely went like very protective towards Israel. Like I can tell. I grew up watching Ethan Klein, and he's like very oddly pro-Israel, dude. It's very weird. And just the fact that he's mixing anti-Semitism with Zionism, or he's mixing Jews with Zionism, which is not good. You can't do that. That's bad. And then like, I don't know, man. He went after Vosh for some, like, out of nowhere. He started attacking like a lot of lefties. Like, he went after Vosh for the horse shit, which is fine. Make fun of Vosh. But then he started calling Vosh a pedophile, even though if he was a pedophile, he would have been arrested already. He would have got raided by the FBI. Like, I'm pretty sure he would have been in trouble if he literally was, like, if it was actual child porn and, like, a lot of lolly and shit. Like, so like, already he's attacking the left after dropping Hassan. I think he takes money from the DNC. I wouldn't, I would love to see that, but that I wouldn't blow me away. And so he drops Hassan, he attacks Vosh, he drops the Leftovers after October 7th, and then like he starts attacking like Keffels and anybody who's like standing up for Vosh. And then like Ethan Klein didn't even go after Mr. Beast's friend for having lolly and shit. So it's like he doesn't give a shit. He has no morals. He has no no fucking moral compass. He's like a fucking like a Play-Doh. He just morphs into whatever side he wants to agree with. And right now it's the look, Vosh is sus. I'm not gonna lie, but there's not sufficient enough evidence to call him a pedo, bro. You know what I mean? He does debate pedophilia and shit, which is not good. He needs to stop, and Dusty Smith did warn him, but I don't think it's enough evidence to call him a pedo. But that's just my opinion, you know what I mean? That seems a little fucked up. And I'm somebody who has, when I was younger, I've been through some weird sexual harassment type shit. So, but he is sus. I will agree with you, Lesbot.
You can't talk like that about any other fucking minority. I had a problem with my Zionist therapist.
So sorry if it's a little low on volume. I have it turned up as far as it can go, but it's hilarious how he's saying that being a Zionist is a minority. Like you're in the minority if you're a freaking Zionist, which isn't even true. I feel like
Biden's on TV calling himself a Zionist every day.
Exactly. Our president is a proud self-identifying Zionist. It's like the mainstream position. Try going on CNN or MSNBC and saying that you're not a Zionist or that you're an anti-Zionist. They're gonna freaking attack you. So I don't understand that.
Be a Catholic, like a devout Catholic.
Right. Exactly. Just like Joe Biden supposedly is. Biden is supposedly our first or our second or something Catholic president.
Kennedy.
Right. And he's a proud Zionist. Lots of people identify as Zionists who are in no way connected to the Jewish religion, neither religiously nor culturally. Like I could be a Zionist. Anyone could be a Zionist. So off the bat, this is just a dishonest
Literally
argument.
everyone that's ever made it to the executive branch of our government.
Yeah.
What you taught your Zionist therapist? Did you get those level of details from them?
This video
you had an in-depth conversation about the politics of Zionism with your therapist? No, I know what you mean. You mean fucking Jew. You know, I'm not going to sit here and be,
all,
let my fucking
literally
people,
had a
be openly bigoted and racist.
That way.
Which is again hilarious because Zionism is inherently bigoted and racist ideology. And again, it has nothing to do with being Jewish. You can be Jewish and anti-Zionist. There are lots of Jews who hate and oppose Zionism. Why? Because it makes their religion look terrible.
Yeah.
Zionism is Judaism, is taking the Torah and using it to excuse.
Bro, Zionism is like liking Christian nationalism or like fucking throw in any other Islamic shit. Houthi fundamentalist. There you go. That's basically equal Zionism. What else? Fucking what other fundamentalists are there out there? Can you guys throw in some names? Like Zionists are like fundamentalists just of the Torah, and they don't even care about the Torah. They shit all over it anyways.
Apartheid, ethnic cleansing, and genocide. If you were Jewish, would you want your religion being used to justify ethnic cleansing, mass displacement, apartheid, and genocide? No, of course not. Because that's not what actually Judaism is about. Most of you who know Jews in your real life know that they're not genocidal people. They're not racist people. Of course not. Judaism has nothing to do with that. That's why it's thoroughly appropriate to be anti-Zionist, because it's a recognition that this is a bastardization of this religion. This is using a real faith to justify horrors.
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy too because the same people who will fucking panic about this, right? Are the same. Like it's like the Donald Trump administration, right? It's like Mike Pompeo is like one of the like foremost Zionists in America. You know what I mean? Like
for real,
I know
dude.
far more people who are
Benjamin Netanyahu, Donald Trump, Biden. Three Zionists right here, and they were our president. They are and were our presidents, and our other countries' presidents. Like they all get along, bro. They all high five. They're all like, "Woo!" You know what I mean? That that meme where they all jump. Woo! That's literally Biden, Trump, and fucking BB right
Zionist
now. Like, they all believe in that Christian
like non-Jewish
like,
for sure. Then I know like
end
I
of
don't,
the
I
world
don't, in
philosophy
my real life,
type
I don't think
shit.
I know a single.
We're like, oh, the Jews. They go back to Israel, and then Jesus comes back, and then Jesus fights the devil on earth, and all the Christians get sucked up into heaven and survive, and then the Jews get left on earth with the atheists and every other person that God doesn't like for some reason. So like, if you think about it, it's just some Christian shit. Like we shouldn't be going with this.
Well, like Jewish person that would identify as a Zionist. You know what I mean? Like I just don't know anybody that's like, yeah, I'm fucking super pro. Like no, like that's just. I mean, again, I'm in a bubble. Like I'm a lefty guy. Like you know what I mean? But like I just, I mean, I've been to the fucking Palestine protests, seen a lot of people with the "not in my name" fucking signs. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So anyway, that's one thing. You put like a pin in it, and then you're like, do you not remember all of the tiki torch motherfuckers? Jews will not replace us. Jews will not replace us. Those are the dudes that love Donald Trump. And who does Donald Trump love? Bibi Netanyahu, the world's #1 Zionist. So it's just like.
Lesbot says they all think colonialism racism is just as well. Yeah, exactly. They're all racist. They're all colonialists, imperialists. They love war. It's sad, man. I don't know. It's sad that we gotta vote for this as Democrats. I feel.
Come on, bro. This is such like a fucking
I don't
thinly
feel
veiled
good.
attack. This is
I don't feel
bullshit.
good
This is
about
what I expect from
this.
the New York Times when they get shredded
Bro,
for
if
making up
Trump
the mass
wins,
rape
watch.
story.
If Trump wins, how much you want to bet Biden's gonna blame like the lefties and the Bernie supporters and the young people? Oh, the young people.
That Ethan 100% regurgitated a million times, even though let's just go ahead and throw this up here to remind everybody that Ethan's favorite fucking story was completely rigged. Let's see. Let me pull this up. Jeremy Scahill coming out swinging with Ryan Grimm and another individual who I wasn't familiar with until the story, but crazy. Between the hammer and the anvil, the story behind the New York Times October 7 expose.
Yeah.
Guys, it is all
It's all fake. The New York Times fucking mass rape story. It's
all
there's
fuck,
no evidence.
like all of those mass rape stories, complete horse shit. Okay, and you guys can read it all. They talked to the woman that wrote the New York Times story. She called every single Israeli rape crisis center, and they
Dude, I think Bernie should stand up. I don't know why Bernie. Bernie's going further than most other Democrats besides Rashida Tlaib or Ilhan Omar, but he has to go further. I don't know what he's doing, man. I don't know what he's doing. I think he was just born, like he was raised in Israel. He was in a kibbutz when he was younger, so I'm sure he has a lot of feelings towards that country. But it's apartheid. It's an apartheid state. You have to talk about it, Bernie. Come on, man.
They had no reports from that day. No reports from that day. There's also evidence. Like I don't want to conflate it with this article if it didn't come from this article, but I imagine it did. I saw it on Twitter where they were talking about it. Like there's quotes.
And now the fact that Israel is destroying like international law, like they're just shitting on international law, like, oh, stop bombing, don't tell them to move to the south, tell them to move to the south. Oh, don't bomb the south, Israel bombs the south. Don't bomb the last remaining refugee camp in the south, Israel bombs the last remaining. It's like, how the fuck are we gonna tell Russia not to do any war crimes anymore? Like we can't until America deals with Israel and its war crimes. We have no leg to stand on when we tell another country like cut it out. We literally don't, because our own allies are not cutting it out, and we're letting them do it. So it's like, what the hell are we doing, America? This is what makes me feel like and no country ever is actually good. I feel like every country is just evil. And you just gotta kind of like the people need to direct it the right way, if we even can. Like as you see, we're trying in America and it's failing. So I don't know. It's sad, man.
Quotes from IDF soldiers being like, "Oh, we had to use our imaginations because there was just like the bodies were dead. Like we had to decide what happened. Like you know what I mean?" And it's just like that's not fucking evidence. Like you know what I mean? We had to assume what happened. You know? And so it's like you hear like Rabbi Shmuley talking about like the women's breasts being cut off and like the women stabbed in their vaginas. It's all a lie, because what they're doing is they're trying to distract you from the real horrors that are being perpetrated by the people they're supporting.
Yeah. Also, what were you saying about Ryan Grimm? Because he's a friend of the show, Hugo. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know.
Oh, no, I said I know Ryan Grimm and Jeremy Scahill, but there was a man, Daniel Bugaslaw, who was
I know who Ryan Grimm is. He's dope.
a gentleman I wasn't familiar with, if that's what.
Lesbot says that's true. Geopolitical interests rule. Yeah, man, it's really sad. Like Biden was doing so good until this whole Israel thing popped off, bro. Like he pulled out of Afghanistan. I was like, okay, good job, bro. Good job. You pulled out of Afghanistan. I know it was a little messy. Some people died. People hanging off planes and shit. You had to pull out the bandage at some point. And now he gets back in Israel. It's like, bro, are you fucking serious? And then they're like, okay, it's like, okay, you're supporting Ukraine. All right, I can see that. They had that little revolution and shit. You know what I mean? Russia took Crimea last time. Obama should have done something, but he didn't. So okay, you're on a good track supporting them, okay. And then the whole Israel thing, it's like, oh my fucking god, are you serious, dude? Can you not do a single thing correct? Like, geopolitically wise, he always has to have something to fuck it all up. Always. Like, you have to give Trump the winning card this late. I don't know, dude. It's crazy.
What you're talking about, Hugo.
Yeah, I was like, we're big fans of Grimm's reporting, Hugo. But yeah, I guess that basically wraps up our segment on the Ethan Klein stuff, right?
Well, we're done with this.
Again, I'm not one to pearl clutch over jokes and stuff like that, and I wouldn't be doing this segment if I actually thought these were just jokes. Unfortunately, I think they actually are reflective of the Klein's ideology as it relates to Israel, and I do think that they at least harbor Zionist sympathies, if they are not Zionists themselves, which is unfortunate, right? Because
I
I think
agree.
that it's fair to
I agree. Well, thank you so much, the Vanguard, for this video. Give you that little salute right there. They have another one. They have another video that they came out with March 4th, on my birthday.
You probably remember our discussion from a few days ago about Ethan Klein. He had some
It's shorter. It's 14
pretty
minutes.
problematic sentiments to share about American hero Aaron Bushnell, who of course died in a protest against the Israel genocide of Gaza funded by America. He self-immolated in front of the Israeli embassy about a week ago, I believe. Ethan was kind of mocking him, calling him a mentally ill person, saying that it's unfortunate how many people are celebrating his act of self-immolation. It was all garbage. We reacted to it and debunked a lot of his talking points on the stream from a few days ago. Luckily, a lot of people in his audience also felt similarly. They thought it was in bad taste. They pushed back and called out Ethan.
Guys, I've been watching Ethan Klein. Oh, come on, what happened now?
Which led to Ethan.
Look, I've been watching Ethan Klein since the Vape Nation days. I've been watching Ethan Klein since Joji, since fucking JohnTron, dude. I've been there. I've been on that wagon, bro. And he fucking does this shit. It's like, come on, bro. You're not a real lefty then. You're just a fucking fake ass shill, dude. Selling your Teddy Fresh and shit. Get out of here, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's too much. Like, I just can't watch him anymore. Even
Ethan actually,
like, I like how he dunks on conservatives. You know, he dunked on fucking Jesse Lee Peterson or whatever, and that's good. Keep dunking on tankies. That's fine. But nah, I can't support the Israel genocide Zionism shit or the Bushnell thing. I don't know.
doubling down on his Instagram story. Sometimes he posts some spicy shit on his Insta, specifically on his stories. And this is what he took to Instagram to post in the wake of that criticism. And of course, he's talking about his wife, who was born in Israel, and I guess Ethan used to live with her in Israel. She was also, of course, a member of the IDF, as we've talked about before. Obviously, you don't have a choice if you live in Israel unless you want to go to jail. You have to join the IDF. But either way, Ethan posted this on his Instagram story. He says, I think her name is pronounced Hila. Is that right, Zach? Do you know?
Hila. Yeah.
Hila.
Isn't her name Hila? Hila? Is the H Hila? Hila. I thought it was Ela. Lesbot, same. I don't know what that face is. I wish I had a word for it. But same. He just LARPs, but I wish he would shush about this conflict. Yeah, dude. Like, he just needs to shut up. Like, somebody take his phone away. Take his phone away, please. Take Ethan's phone away.
Okay, I wasn't trying to mispronounce anyone's name, but he says Hila was born in Israel. Hila's parents were born in Israel. Hila's grandparents come from Libya and Syria. They fled persecution. Hila is not welcome in.
Lesbot says, yeah, the H is silent. Okay, cool. Ela. That's a pretty name.
Any of the countries that expelled her ancestors. But in Minnie's eye.
Listen, H3, invite me on. Have me on your podcast. Let's talk about this stuff. Let's settle it. I'm gonna be the new leftist on the block. Trust me. I won't disappoint you guys. I was born in Cuba. I have the blood of Che Guevara and Fidel Castro running through my veins right now.
She's a colonizer who must return to her land. The majority, despite the fact that I need to
get that buff Hassan body. You know what I mean? I need to get that like muscles and shit. Ugh. Then I'll be like the actual fucking alpha male of the left.
Currently live in America.
I'm
right
a little
now,
chubby.
so I'm not really sure.
Yeah, how about America, pal? Wow, there's a whole thing about how when people are fleeing persecution for religion, they have the ship.
Hila is fine though. Yeah, she's pretty. I like her. She is fine.
Called the Mayflower. I don't
She's
know. I thought
pretty,
Ethan went to
she's
school in
hot,
America. I thought he went to third grade. They had
beautiful.
this ship. It was called the Mayflower. Yes.
I wonder how she kept her, like, you know how usually women when they have birth they have like stretch marks and stuff. I wonder how she kept, like, how does she get rid of that? Cause she's really skinny, and you would think a skinny person when they have a baby, like, it'll be very, like, their stomach will be very stretched. So you think she'll have a lot of stretch marks or whatever. I mean, I haven't seen her stomach or nothing, but like she looks good. She looks pretty, very, good skin.
Yes, it was
Fine
terrible.
skin.
We did a genocide
me
of
not be
our own
weird.
here, and
Stop talking about Ela
what's
Klein.
crazy is that the reason
Or
that
H3
Isaac had to take
hears
his first
about it
ban
and
of the
beats
day,
me up.
it's like you live in America, you don't fuck exactly.
She does have
exactly,
pretty eyes.
but also
Very
it's
big
like
eyes.
the Stettler
pretty eyes.
colonial project is expanding, right? So imagine if the United States were right now trying to take Mexico City, and we were like everything by force from Ciudad Juarez to fucking Mexico City, it's ours now. That from sea to shining sea, yada yada yada, and then we would be actively cheerleading that on, like rah rah rah. What are we gonna do? These Mexicans keep coming into our fucking country, bro. Rah, war. Ted Cruz. I love naysh. Like, you know what I'm saying? That would be like if we were pulling an Ethan right now. Okay.
Damn. Okay. Oh, she works out. She definitely keeps it tight. Okay. That's good.
Okay, so nobody's saying that they have to move from fucking Tel Aviv,
That's
but what they
good.
have to do is they have to stop genociding the fucking people of Gaza.
Right now, I'm
They
trying
have
to I'm trying to get into a workout routine right now. It's hard.
stop fucking running people out of the
I
West
went yesterday
Bank.
to the
Okay,
gym. I
they
gotta
have
go
to have
tomorrow,
a single
though.
one-state solution. They have to stop fucking doing apartheid, even in times of peace. Okay, yeah, that's what you have to stop fucking doing. You are literally simping for fucking apartheid South Africa right now, Ethan. You found like a dumb shit. Like the chat's been calling him Ethan Decline, and I think that's a good fucking way to put it.
Yeah, totally. And of course, he makes this all about himself and his wife when that's not
Ethan
really,
Decline.
Yeah,
what
who cares
people
about your millionaire stupid bitch ass? Like, this is crazy. You're such a crybaby. You fucking stick your hand out and beg for money for a living. Okay, it's crazy.
Exactly. And he goes on to say that the majority of Israeli Jews are Mizrahi, 60%, meaning they come from the Middle East with a similar story. So tell me, where should these colonizers return to? Let's take a look at the comments on his subreddit, because like I said, this was posted on his Instagram story, but it immediately was then reposted to the H3H3 production subreddit, which of course is filled with Ethan Klein fans and people who are part of the H3 community. It's not like these are a bunch of haters or anything like that. So I thought it was interesting to see the way that people responded here. Despite
You got this.
the fact that the person who posted this image seems to agree with it, they say this seemingly like, implying that they agree with the sentiment or that it's a valid sentiment to share in the first place. But like I said, most people in the comments did not really vibe with Ethan's sentiment here. Here's one of the top comments. This commenter says, they don't need to return anywhere, man. Their freedom and security need not come at the expense of the Palestinian people. With a permanent ceasefire, an end to Israel's apartheid, and the rights of Palestinians.
Like, I wonder why Ethan Klein doesn't invite more leftists on. You know what I mean? Like, okay, he's had Hassan on, and he's had like a few other people, but he's never really invited over like other leftists. Like, he's never had Zhank on. I mean, I know Zhank's like a centrist, capitalist, fucking weirdo, but he still would have pushed some good ideas onto Ethan Klein, maybe, you know what I mean? Or like Emma Viglin, or where's Sam Cedar? He hasn't invited Sam Cedar on yet? Are you fucking serious? Really? Ethan Klein hasn't invited Sam Cedar on. They fucking dunked on Steven Crowder together. What's going on? Like, even Sam Cedar would fucking talk some sense into Ethan Klein on this topic. You know what I mean? So I wish he would invite other people on, man. Like, I don't know, invite on Mike Figueredo or like David Dole or fucking what's his name? Matthew Binder. Matt Binder's awesome.
Restored under law, both peoples can peacefully coexist on the land.
This guy's
I think
the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what any like normal thinking adult who actually cares about both Israeli people and Palestinian people, that's obviously the conclusion you come to. No one is saying that every single Israeli citizen needs to move or needs to be like forcibly relocated out of the country. Like obviously that's not something that's feasible.
No, you just gotta stop.
That's not something that's
Israel just needs to stop being an apartheid state. Give equal rights to all people, all religions. Stop this military court shit, because Palestinians are under military court in Israel and not under regular court. And military court has like a 99% conviction rate. So like it's like, what the hell? There's no freedom. If you're gonna be 99% convicted,
going to happen.
like what the fuck?
There's a reason why we talk about a one-state solution. We talk about these two peoples coexisting, much like how in America lots of different cultures exist side by side, including different cultures that have in the past had a lot of divisive relationships. Obviously, the black and white community following Jim Crow America didn't seem like it would be an easy integration, but here we are. So it's not impossible. And like I said, I think most people on the left, if they're not in favor of a two-state solution, they're in favor of a one-state solution. No one is advocating for Israelis to be kicked out of their country or their homes, unless they're the settlers who have
unless they're settlers. Yeah, if they're settlers, kick them out. Especially they're violent and shit. But like they don't. Every Jew doesn't need to leave the country. Like, just stop the apartheid thing. Let Palestine thrive in the West Bank and in Gaza, and bam, you're good. Problemo. Give rights to both sides. Boom. Boom,
literally encroached on and stolen Palestinian land and homes. Like, yeah, obviously those people need to move.
They had literal Palestinian teenagers in jail. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, man, I saw that. Women, young girls, young boys. You know what I mean? And you probably might get assaulted in jail. You might be you know what I mean? Like abuse of the S word variety, which is not good. That definitely happens in jail. I saw some stories about that. In Palestinians in jail, the guards treat them like shit. And, like, just everything. Like, I know Hamas. There's like I bet Hamas has done some R words. R words had happened, I bet. But it wasn't a mass R word campaign. Like the fucking story that the Times try to put out. It wasn't a mass R word campaign. But in Israeli prisons where they keep the Palestinians, it probably is a mass R word thing. Like, it probably is a lot of R word going on, because like in the ICJ case, Netanyahu and every political official in Israel talks about the Palestinians like if they're animals, and like if they're just fucking trash, and like don't care about, do whatever you want to them. And the prison guards hear that, the military hears that, everyone hears that, and they start treating these people like shit. So, you know what I mean? So they're definitely doing mass mistreatment of these people, dude. Like, I don't know.
Move out and give their homes back to.
I think war crimes should be prosecuted on all sides. Go after the war crimes.
To those people whose homes those were originally. But yeah, obviously, not every Israeli person is going to leave the area. That's just not feasible. Much like how all the white people just didn't leave South Africa after apartheid was over. The solution was to end apartheid, not to expel all of the white people, right?
All
and
crimes
I think,
are crimes.
like I said, most people understand that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Hamas should be prosecuted at The Hague, and Netanyahu's government, coalition government, and maybe all the soldiers that did really fucked up shit, and all those soldiers in the Hamas side, and you know what I mean? Like, all of them, lock them all up, all of them.
I would just ask Ethan. I don't know if he's ever cracked open a book on his own.
You
but
hate Jews. Oh,
the United States has a long history
lock
of
all of them up
aiding
for war
and
crimes,
abetting and the absolute fuckery and the destruction of the lives
and then
of
give the
countless
people their
individuals,
freedom,
right?
Palestine.
So let's just take the Kurds, for example. Before we were, kind of using them as our crusade, we have to go get Saddam because of the Kurds. He's going to kill all the Kurds. We were literally giving him arms for fucking decades because he was killing communists. And we were like, well, he's just going to kill the Kurds too. What can we do? But he's also killing the communists, and that's what we want. Okay, so Ethan, you live in America now. You pay taxes in America just like the rest of us. Do you think the Kurdish people have the right to come to your home and kill you and all of your friends and then live there because they were persecuted on the...
By the way, Lesbot, thank you for chatting. I really appreciate it. I like talking to you. If you're still here, check out my TikTok and my other content on my channel, bro. I have so much war crime footage, dude. There's other YouTubers that I covered, and they cover the war crimes, and I watch it. So if you really like this Palestinian stuff, tune into my TikTok or my channel, and you'll see a lot of stuff that you might like. It's sad and bad, but like you might enjoy. You might like the content. I don't know.
Like
Forget about
basically with your tax dollars, because like you
No more
mentioned that
ads.
your wife's grandparents came to Israel. What was the IDF doing when they all got there? Right? You ever heard of the Nakba? I wouldn't exactly say like we had no choice. We had to fucking exterminate all of these people and fucking bloodthirstily fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, why not come to America instead? Lots of people chose to do that. The United States, I would fucking, stake my entire fucking, everything I've got, podcast bar, everything on the fact that Gavin and I would never for our fucking second say that we shouldn't openly take refugees from persecuted countries where because it is true that there have been instances throughout history, and I don't want to underplay this, that in Middle Eastern countries Jewish people have been run the fuck out, right? Literally run the fuck out. These stories are true, and that's absolutely not fucking okay. That is absolutely bad. That's just so bad. And what I would say is that in America, we will welcome you with open arms. You will not, endure that threat here. I would make that same commitment to any persecuted people on the whole fucking planet. That is literally the idea of this country in its best form. In like the propaganda.
Are you from New York? No, I am not from New York. I'm from south of New York. Like, state, go south from New York, and my state will be there. But not Jersey. Either.
This is the sales pitch we give to America. I like to say, the sign on the Statue of Liberty. But give us your huddled masses. You guys don't know that one. That's all. That's what I would say. It doesn't mean, we have to go massacre a place for us to live now and protect. And then also, if they were gonna just massacre people, how can we say there was a land with no people, a people with no land? It's like, bro, there was fucking people there. You know what I mean? And nobody's saying that you can't go to Israel ever again. Nobody. I don't even believe in borders, bro. But what I do believe is that you can't exist as a fucking apartheid state. You can't exist as a state that's doing an ethnic cleansing. And yes, if you get in your feelings because you got called a colonizer, it's probably because you are.
Yep. I just can't imagine having this response. Like, obviously, Zach and I, we live in America. The conditions for Native people in this country obviously are nowhere near as bad as they are for Palestinian people in Israel, but still, there's a lot of improvement. Obviously,
it's bad,
yeah. I mean, they should have the sovereignty to much of their land, if not all of their land, restored. The conditions need to be better across the board for indigenous people in this country. I just can't imagine if someone was suggesting that. Me, as a white person living in this country, coming back with, well, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to move? I was born in this country. My freaking parents were born here. My grandparents were born here. What do you want me to do? Where do you want me to move? Like, obviously, the correct response to that as a white American would be, yes, we do need to uplift the Native community. We need to give them more resources, sovereignty over their land, and we can all coexist.
But yeah, I'm from PA, bro. PA, not New York.
Exists in this country together. That's the obvious response. No one is saying that every white person needs to leave America in order to restore sovereignty and economic rights and all that stuff to Native communities. Of course, that's not the implication, but with a lot of Israeli citizens and husbands of Israeli citizens, it seems to be this very personal attack. They're like, where do you want me to go?
Mothers of Israeli citizens.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, the comments here, really good stuff. Here's another one that says, there are plenty of Jews that support Palestinians and are against Israel for the genocide. Jews are not a single hive mind with all the same beliefs and acts, just like how Arabs are. Israel is not representing all Jews. And obviously, that's something we've talked about a lot too. There are plenty of Jewish people, not only in America, but even in Israel itself, that are firmly against the apartheid policy. Got a couple more here. They don't have to return anywhere. They just have to stop illegally displacing Palestinians and killing their children. Not a massive ask, Ethan. Someone says, I wish you would just think about the Roman Empire instead. This person says, it's clear that there's no point continuing this discussion. It makes me turn off the podcast whenever it starts, which is interesting. And a lot of people seem to agree with that sentiment. A lot of people in the H3 community seem to kind of agree with us, Zach, that they like Ethan Klein for the sort of comedy and drama and stuff like that they talk about. But as soon as this conversation comes up, everyone sort of tunes out. And this person says the crew even just goes silent. No one but Ethan likes it. It's so obvious too. Even when Leftovers was still on, he chose to rant about it, with AB even saying he should talk with Hassan about this topic. So yeah, it seems like a lot of people, even that are in the H3 fan community, aren't really on board with Ethan's Zionist beliefs, and they tend to kind of tune out or stop listening when the topic comes up because of how, you know, distasteful some of his commentary is on the subject. So that's definitely interesting. I think there's one more here that I wanted to spotlight. With peace and love, I think most level-headed people would want both Israel and Palestine to exist together without genocide or removing people from their homes. I'm sorry to say Israel at this moment is the more powerful and bigger evil. That is why people are critical of them. They're literally committing war crimes and getting away really well articulated. And I think, I mean, that he definitely speaks for me, or whoever this commenter is. They definitely speak for me. I think that's a great articulation of how I feel about this.
100%. Yeah, it's not an excuse for, you know, any of the atrocities that were committed by Hamas, but they just pale in comparison to the extreme fucking systematic violence and depravity that is being, you know, orchestrated by the IDF and by the Israeli government with our tax dollars, with our support. You know, I was reading, I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was that Chris Hedges piece about Aaron Bushnell, but he was talking about how in a just world, there would be a no-fly zone over Gaza, and that the United States would use its most powerful military in the world to rush in aid and food and medicine to Gaza. And instead, we live in an unjust world, and the world's most powerful army is, you know, talking out of both sides of its mouth, perpetrating the massacre, and then also, you know, shedding fake tears about how, you know, atrocious it is. It's pretty gross. But anyway.
But yeah, I mean, I thought that comment section on Reddit, obviously it's just a random Reddit post, a random comment section, but it did make me feel good. I was like, that's nice to know that even people that are fans of Ethan, even people that follow him and respect his commentary, even they, you know, have enough humanity to just give the obvious pushback and be like, hey, bro, no one's saying your wife did anything wrong by being born in freaking Israel. What we're saying is that there's an apartheid that has to be stopped, and there's a genocide that needs to be ended because innocent people are being slaughtered in mass. Like, that's the obvious position, and it did make me feel good that, you know, people seem to recognize that.
Another reason why I really care about this, guys, is because I'm Cuban. You know how there's an embargo on Cuba? There's a blockade. Cuba can't bring in a lot of things that they need. They can't export a lot of things they need. I care about this a lot because Israel is always voting on the UN, and they always vote against lifting the embargo on Cuba. And so basically Israel just does whatever the United States wants, and the United States hates Cuba, and because they hate Cuba, they always tell Israel to vote down on any Cuba help. Let me bring this up real quick. Well, UN. Look at this shit, dude. The UN General Assembly on Thursday voted by a large margin against the United States economic and trade embargo against Cuba. First imposed in 1960. Since 1960, Cuba's been alive and doing all right. And like suffering though, but you know, still not crashed as a country. A total of 187 states voted for the resolutions to put forward each year against the embargo, with only the U.S. and Israel, voting against it, and Ukraine abstaining. But I'm sure they'll vote for it one day, you know. But it's like, come on, Israel. Israel's just a fucking military base for the U.S. For them to do whatever the fuck the U.S. wants, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. So until they stop fucking with Cuba, I'm gonna keep fucking with them. Thank you, the Vanguard. We appreciate your service, buddy. You guys are good. Let's hop on to Shark 030.
American content creator. She's Lebanese, if I remember correctly. Anyways, she made this tweet on the Bird app. I went to therapy for the first time after talking about my dad fleeing the Israel-Lebanon war. She was like, I'm Israeli. Do you have any issues with me being your therapist? Bro, I was so taken aback. My mom told me I should switch because that wasn't professional. What are your thoughts on this? Because I'm genuinely so conflicted right now. Okay. And also the creator Stardust. I don't believe she likes I don't believe she likes this Frogan character. So she made this tweet about the apparent inconsistencies in Frogan's tweets, okay? So there was this from 2016, I miss my old therapist, okay? And then from February 2019, she was like, I started therapy a few years back and I was uncomfortable with my therapist being Muslim and the thought of that because I didn't want her to judge me. But she was the best person I ever met. It's important to have mental health workers that understand your culture and religion. And then it was this tweet about her therapist bringing up that the fact that they were Israeli. Okay? Bring up the fact that they were Israeli. So, can I say something really quick, okay? Here's one thing. I've heard people say that Frogan called her therapist a Zionist, and I'm not necessarily sure when she said that. Was it on Twitter? Was it on her stream? Does anyone know? Does anybody have a clip of that? Because I haven't been able to see that. Yes, Twitter. Not this tweet. Before this one. Before this tweet. Because Ethan is here responding to her, saying that she called her therapist a Zionist specifically. Okay, so she started to like her therapist a little more. Linked right under. No, this is the original tweet where the word Zionist is not used once by her. Unless I'm misreading it. No, the word Zionist here isn't used once. So maybe at some other point in time. No audio? I'm not playing the clip right now. Or can you not hear me? No, you can hear me. Test 1, 2. There's another tweet. There is another. Give me a sec. Okay, let me see. Let's go through her Twitter to see if we can find anything. Let's see. Would have been the last couple days, right? Oh, was this it? Yeah, here we go. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you. Oh, I actually had it. I don't know why I asked for it. I actually had it. Okay, never mind. So here's this. Started therapy 5 years after a bad experience with a Zionist therapist, okay? Sought women of color therapist assuming relative empathy, mentioned Palestine, and new therapist new therapist sees it as just another place and not caring or being knowledgeable due to discrimination she faces in America. Mentioned Palestine and new therapist sees it as just another place and not caring or being knowledgeable due to discrimination she faces in America. Okay. So it seems like she wants to call this therapist a Zionist, the one that she had like a bad experience with. In my opinion, what it seems like, okay, is that she had a therapist a while ago, like an old therapist. I don't really think that it's the same therapist that she's talking about here, okay, with them being a Muslim therapist. They might be. There are still Muslim Israelis, okay, though they do exist. I'm not going to sit here and say that they don't exist. So Muslim Israelis do exist. So I guess there's no reason that this therapist could be Muslim and also not Israeli or like from Israel or something. And then she said that she went to therapy for the first time. And I think people are trying to say that she's lying. Well, what I've seen is that people say that she's lying by saying that she went to therapy for the first time when we have documented evidence of her going to therapy beforehand of this. But I think it could easily just mean that she's going to therapy for the first time with a new therapist or going to therapy for the first time in a while because I've gone to therapy before. I've only gone to like 2 sessions. But if I started therapy again, I would say that this is like I would say this is my first time going to therapy. Or if I go to a new therapist, I'd probably, after I haven't done it in a while, I would probably phrase it as this is my first time going to therapy, right? Or if somebody says, "What are you doing?" and I'm going therapy for the first time, right? And it would be like implied in a while or with a new therapist. That's not surprising to me personally. Right. But I see people thinking that she's trying to like pull the wool over people's eyes by saying that this is the first time that she's ever been to therapy or something. I don't love Frogan, but these claims seem like a stretch to me. So that means Stardust is starting shit with this narrative? I don't know, maybe. She believes it. It seems like she definitely believes that she's like evil or like duplicitous woman or something along those lines. And I asked the question, like, from this, it seemed like she went to her therapist 3 years ago and then had a negative experience and then follow up with that experience. What's the inconsistency here? Because I wanted to know, like, what were people thinking that was an inconsistency because she's like the inconsistencies. Everybody's like, one more lie from the duplicitous mouth of this Frogan character, and I'm like, what am I missing, right? And so there are some people in the comment section who are trying to explain to me why they feel like there are inconsistencies, and I got arguments like, I'm assuming it's the unprompted part. There was a prompt from the therapist, okay? So coming back here before we look at what Ethan said, let's read this tweet where she writes in a response to Ethan, where she said, when I said my therapist was a Zionist when I went back to her in 2019, I mean she literally brought up that I was Lebanese unprompted and confronted me on it, saying that she was Israeli. She asked if I had a problem with that, if I felt like Israel had a right to exist, started asking more and more if I was frustrated with Islam and if I've considered taking off my hijab. I asked her if she was all right with me being Lebanese, and she got really aggressive, accusing me of flipping it on her and refused to answer. So when I say Zionist, I don't mean she was Jewish. I mean, she was a racist Israeli who could not help herself but confront me about my ethnicity and what was supposed to be a therapist session. And I'm going to say one thing real quick. Being a racist Israeli, it does not mean you're a Zionist. True. Right? You could just be racist, right? You may, I mean, it's possible that you could just not even, there are Jews out there and like scholarly Jews out there who study Judaism who still don't believe in like the in like the idea of like a Jewish ethno state existing while also still having racist attitudes, right? So like I still believe this is an improper use of the word Zionist, which can cause a lot of problems for other people, which can cause problems for people like reading your tweets, because a loose use of the word Zionist is usually used by people who have pretty poor views on pretty poor views on Jewish people, and who like to use that. So I can see where people are coming from when you use a loose term, when you use a Zionism loosely. With that being said, when she says, because people are bringing up this part, okay? I mean, she literally brought up that I was Lebanese unprompted and confronted me, saying that she was Israeli. I want to highlight this part right here because it seems like this is a really important part for people. Now, what this could mean is that I see a lot of people saying is that she's lying. Okay, there was a prompt brought up by herself, right, Frogan. Okay, and that prompt would be specifically her being like, I was talking about my dad after talking about my dad fleeing the Israel-Lebanon war. All right, so yeah, here we go. So this was what people would say would be the prompt for her being like, I'm Lebanese, I'm Israeli, do you have a problem with me being your therapist, right? We'll do, because some people are colorblind as fuck, so we'll do like purple? I don't know, maybe some colorblind people still can't see that. This might actually be worse. Some people here are afflicted with colorblind, so yellow? Yeah, they'll probably have an easy time reading that. It was blind. Anyways, so they would say this would be the prompt for her responding with this. While this, I feel like this could be true, how that would be the prompt. For me personally, in my experience after going to therapy, I would feel like it'd be a little weird for my therapist to bring something up like that after bringing up my personal experience that I want them, that I'm just talking through or wanting them to respond to in some way. Like if I was talking about how I had experienced like a racist incident, like somebody was racist to me online or something, and then my therapist was like, hey, I'm white, do you have a problem with me being your therapist? I'd be like, huh? I'd be like, dog, what? I'd be like, so I was pushing the shopping cart in Kroger, and then the guy behind me in the deli section was like, F you, N-word, and then kicked my cart. And I dropped my case of like free range eggs. And I started to cry, and they were like, well, I'm white, do you have a problem with me being white and your therapist? Not only would if I'm putting myself in this situation, I'd be like, that was like, I'm not talking about you, man. And also, like, why would you just assume that I have a problem with you being my therapist just because you're white or something, right? Like, I guess this could be something that could come up at a different time, possibly. But I feel like
yeah, it's a weird
thing to bring up. A little taken aback by something like that. You making an assumption that they might have a problem could be demeaning in that way. And people are saying that this is a confirmation that they were right, that she does have a problem with her therapist being Israeli, which I haven't really seen, right? I haven't really seen that she specifically would have a problem with her therapist or people that she works with being Israeli or Jewish or whatever, right? Once again, just a massive assumption here. from people who seem to just really hate her, right? I don't really have many opinions on Frogan personally. It's important for therapists to help figure out if you're a good match. Now, maybe being, I don't know, maybe being like, I'm not sure if I'm like the best person to help you with this, right? Because of my personal experience, I might not be able to empathize with you as much because of my personal background. But I don't know, the way that she said it, like, I'm Israeli, do you have issues with me being your therapist? Like, sure, it's a front, but I mean, I can understand how people would feel taken aback. And she seems like she didn't even necessarily know how to feel in this moment, right? It seemed like she later came to the conclusion that it was bad and wrong and she didn't like it, right? And then later she came out with this, started therapy 5 years after a bad experience with a Zionist therapist, sought a woman of color therapist for empathy, and then that didn't work either. Okay, yeah, I think right. So here's another thing that I've seen when it comes to this conversation. And so this is the original tweet, and then this is the follow up. This is the follow up tweet. Okay, where she for the first time called this therapist a Zionist. Okay, and then this is the follow up to Ethan's comments to her, where then she laid out a bunch of other grievances that she had with this therapist here. Okay, where she said she asked if I had a problem with that. She asked if I felt Israel had a right to exist, which seemed I don't know, feels a little bit like a weird question, but you know, we're not privy to the conversation going on here. This is just her interpretation of what was happening. Her, like, after the first question, she could already be like set off and think poorly of everything else that the therapist had to say there. I don't know. I wasn't in the room. Nobody else was either. So this is just these are just inferences people are pulling based on whether they want to assume the worst out of her because they hate her and she's evil and stinky, or if they love her and she must be defended at all costs. But yeah, I just have no clue, personally. So I don't know. I guess that question could possibly come up in a conversation about you being Lebanese or whatever. Started asking,
why are they going so far and to like paint this lady as like a like an anti-Jewish, like, you know, a fucking anti-Semite, like Nazi, like this? I remember Frogan. I remember when they started picking on her back when she was like with Hassan, like her moderator, Hassan's moderator or something, right? And then like she said some shit about October 7th being like a revolution, and then like Ethan Klein popped off on her for saying that. I mean, it is stupid, but come on.
More and more, if I was frustrated with how I am frustrated with Islam and if I've ever considered taking off my hijab, I asked if me being Lebanese was a problem, and she got really aggressive. I see a lot of people who say her bringing up this information here is simply a deflection to try to make herself look better. But if I'm going to be honest with you, with this first set of tweets, this was, as far as I remember, this was before she became a content creator. This is before she became a content creator. So this is her just being a like a normal citizen, just a random person online who loves House on Pecker, who's just tweeting to her relatively small group of people on her Twitter account, right? So it's obvious. I can honestly see how somebody may not want to bring up literally every single specific aspect in a tweet. I don't bring that up either when I talk about things that happen. I don't bring up literally everything in a tweet, right? And then she was like, "How do you feel about this?" This seemed like the statement that she was most upset with. Right? Is Frogan still a Hassan mod? No clue. I don't really care either. But you can probably find it out. You can probably find it out. Probably talked about it some. I've never really watched Hassan. So. Yeah. So there's that. I don't know. I personally feel like none of these arguments are really stick to me, but we can look at some more because I haven't read all of these. Couldn't the unprompted thing be from another session? Like you mentioned it in one session and then later the therapist brings it up unprompted? That's also possible. That is a possibility. Bringing some shadow of doubt onto people who say that they don't like her or think there are inconsistencies. The 2019 therapist is probably the same one, and the stories don't line up. Well, they said probably the same one, but I'm not sure if that's true. Maybe the same one. Maybe it's possible. But if that was the case, then the people saying that she's anti-Jewish have an even smaller, have like a worse leg to stand on, because that therapist originally was Muslim and not Jewish. Specifically, she talked about this therapist being a
Lebanese,
it's up here.
Lebanese
she talked about this therapist being a Muslim therapist. Went to started therapy a few years back, and my therapist being Muslim, I was just uncomfortable, okay, right. But I realized that they were a great person. So this therapist here, if this therapist from 2019 and this therapist that she said was a Zionist apparently, are the same person, then the people who say that she's like anti-Jewish or something or anti-Semitic, it'd be harder to be able to say that because the person's Muslim actually. You might be able to say anti-Israeli, but then that wouldn't be anti-Jewish. It'd be something completely different. The stories don't line up. I'm not sure how the stories don't line up, though. The first one is her clearly talking about her father's experience in the Israel-Lebanon war, and the therapist trying to empathize since she is Israeli and she doesn't know if that's a problem. Her being like, I might be from like in her mind the oppressor group, and I might not be like the best person to work with you here. Sure, I mean maybe. I guess that's possible. Still don't know what Ethan even said. Well, we're talking about like the conversation before Ethan jumped in right now. And because when we hit up what Ethan said, then I want to go on with like the back and forth, what people said with Ethan to Ethan, all that type of stuff. Okay, yeah, I'm just letting you know like the structure that I want to put in here, because I don't want to jump to like what, because right now this is the conversation around what other people had to say about this. But when I went to jump to Ethan and the other stuff that Ethan said, we're going to have to continue with what Ethan said, because there's like more to watch with that. And I don't think there'd be a real way to like come back into this. So I think personally I think it'd be better to deal with this now. That's just my opinion. Yeah, we just haven't gotten to it yet. We're working on the community response right now. The second one, therapists bring up unprompted, which is contradictory. They declare they're two different therapists. I feel like they seem like two different therapists personally, but okay. 2019, I spoke about my dad's experience. She asked me if it's okay having an Israeli therapist. 2024, she was like, "You are Lebanese and I'm Israeli. Do you got a problem with that?" This actually isn't true, because she said this. This line actually was back in 2019 right here. So she quoted this from back in the day. So that's actually incorrect about that being from 2024. Her statements from yesterday, she claimed Lebanon statements was brought up by the therapist unprompted. The tweet from a few years ago seems to contradict that claim. That telling someone to take off your hijab probably, I mean, you would think that telling someone to take off their hijab probably would have come up before. Just saying later on Lebanese thing was okay. It seemed like the biggest thing is it being unprompted that people seem to have a big problem with. I personally don't really see it like that, but I guess I can sure I guess it doesn't seem really that big though compared to like the other statements. But you might not think that those statements are real or something, that she's trying to get one over on people or get extra sympathy by lying. I don't really feel like I feel a reason for why Frogan would lie that hard about this type of stuff, but other people do. Also had 5 therapists so far. She might miss another therapist. Also, I've had 5 therapists so far. Miss another therapist. Yeah, it could be another therapist. There have been multiple therapists, right? Like,
what the fuck is this stream? Are you literally just playing Hassan Pike clips? Bro, does this look like Hassan Piker, you dumb fuck? Lucian Saseki boy. Is this Hassan Piker? Is Hassan Piker black? Did Hassan Piker get like the most tan in the whole fucking world? Is Hassan Piker is now Shark 030. Hassan Piker turned into Shark 300. Bro, get out of here, dude. Get out of here, Lucian. Get out of here, Lucian.
Like, I've had one therapy session. I probably won't
not
be going back
Hassan.
to the
This
same
is
therapist.
Shark
On a service that I don't
300.
How could
A
she
black
both start
man.
therapy a few years back in 2019 and also do it for the
A
first time?
beautiful
2019?
black man,
How is
not
that
a
consistent? Yeah,
Turkish
I think we covered
man.
this, but I think I can see how people could mean like starting and then in parentheses if it was written like with a new therapist or for the first time, right? People usually talk like that when they're talking, when they think that you have prior information. I don't want to explain literally every instance of your whole life on Twitter, especially before you're a content creator. With that being said, okay, with this tweet coming back, and this tweet coming back, where she specifically called
We're
the
trying to
therapist
figure out what's
a
going on
Zionist.
with
Ethan,
Klein,
who seems to still be watching
and
her account,
the left,
or somebody brought it to his
quote,
attention,
unquote.
maybe on the subreddit.
That's
or
all I'm trying to do right now.
Then commented on that and commented on how it's incorrect and wrong and probably anti-Semitic for her to be using the term Zionist in this way.
Boy. I'm gonna say this because it pissed me the fuck off. And I'm gonna say this because it pissed me the fuck off. And being an anti-Semite openly and proudly is now likes on Twitter. Frogan, she tweeted out. She goes, I have a problem with my Zionist therapist. Just call him a fucking Jew. I'm sorry, but that you can't talk like that about any other minority. I had a problem with my Zionist therapist. What you taught your Zionist therapist
doesn't mean Jew.
Did you get those level of details from them? You had an in-depth conversation about the politics of Zionism with your therapist?
Jew,
No, I know what you mean. You mean Jew.
Ethan.
You know, I'm not going to sit here and let my people, be openly bigoted and racist. That shit. Nobody would expect that from any other minority. Nobody. It's disgusting. It is.
Zionism
and I'm
is
here.
not a minority.
I'm going to say
majority of the world.
It's true, not all Jews are Zionists, but here's something that you got to understand, okay? There are bad people who use the word Zionist, but what they mean is Jew, okay? There's no, like, we all, for one, you need to understand that, okay? If you can understand how Fox News says thug and what you obviously know is as a dog whistle for meaning black, okay? you can understand how some people use Zionist and what they mean is Jew.
That makes sense.
Let's just be honest.
But I don't
now
think Frogan
that's not in
that
question. What's in question is Frogan doing that specifically. I brought this up earlier. My problem was that I feel like she uses the word a little loosely, right? But what it means, like what she means, is that you are Israeli. You are Israeli, or you have beliefs that are pro-Israeli to the detriment of like Muslims and Arabs. Okay, it seems like that's how she uses the word. That you are pro-Israel and Israeli, but also also have negative opinions of Arabs and Muslims. It seems like that's how she uses the word, which is not the like usually accepted way of how we would use the word Zionist, right? That's just not correct, because Zionist usually means that you believe in a Jewish ethno state.
Yeah.
In the area of like in the area of like the biblically called Zion in Jerusalem, that was like in the religious term given to Jews by God in the secular way for Jewish protection against like anti-Semitism, and that's why they need their ethno state, right?
Okay, let them cook. Let them cook.
So that's not how you use the word. But like in a colloquial sense, I can understand how you use that word. But when you have but in such a strongly, but in like a time when feelings are running so strong, when even the word genocide is being thrown around right now, when you're a public speaker, you might want to be just like a little bit more careful. But obviously that will get into the idea of tone policing somebody whose family is directly being inflicted to suffering as like American made bombs are literally dropping on their skulls right now, right? And so you got to do that little balancing act there. With that being said, I feel like Ethan goes a little crazy. He goes a little insane on this type of stuff. We watched mode, as he was we were specifically watching as he was calling like random people who is even calling him out for some views that he has on Palestinians, on the entire issue, on the war, possibility of genocide, all this type of stuff. How he was calling them pro-Hamas supporters. They should like go to Gaza to get killed by Hamas. That's what they would deserve if you love Hamas so much. And what they mean is, hey, you need to. I believe it would be better for you to change your language on like Gaza and Hamas, right? On like Gaza, Palestinians, in some ways even Hamas, possibly, right? Which I think is crazy, and we've seen that stuff before. Right? He had crazy reactions on Twitter. He still has wild reactions on like Instagram right now. Has he always been this reactionary? He's far less reactionary now than he was in the past. Like in the past, he was saying he was like slinging around the N-word, you know, for fun. So he's less reactionary now than he was previously, back during like the peak of the H3 days. So I will say that. On this issue, I mean, we've talked about it before. So here's the thing: he's Jewish. He has family in Israel, from Israel. His wife is Israeli. Okay, so so when it comes to Frogan and Ethan, the thing that a lot of people don't want to come to terms with is that this is like really personal to both of them. Okay, if you tell somebody like get over like your like the possibility of your family getting like suicide bombed or something, that's not going to go over very well, okay? They're going to be like, fuck you. And if you tell somebody to get over their family getting turned into atoms by US made bombs after doing literally nothing and being forced to live in an open air, in like an open air prison for decades, okay? They're going to tell you fuck off, all right? It's obviously really difficult for both of them, but that obviously doesn't allow you to make claims about people that are incorrect. In this instance, I think a lot of Ethan's views, in my personal opinion, after watching those leftover segments with Hassan, I think a lot of his views on these issues are actually pretty decent. All right, and you've seen it. You've seen me talk about this type of stuff. I even think that Ethan and Hassan aren't that far away when it comes to their views on these issues. The problem comes in with Ethan being able to pick out people who are and aren't anti-Semitic, and how he then deals with that, and how he treats those.
Ethan Klein's anti-Semitism radar is not doing too well. He needs to he needs to reacclimate that shit. Maybe upgrade it a bit. think Klein's fucking Nazi radar is broken, dude. He's getting the wrong people the whole time.
Types of
and
people.
And his pedophile radar is a little off too. I don't know, man.
Especially
He's been going off on a lot of leftists recently.
When he's been wrong before. And he's been wrong before. And you can't just, in an age of ramping Islamophobia, you can't just call like random, you can't just be calling random like people and Arabs like anti-Semitic. You just can't do that. Okay? You just can't do that. There's the air of him being rich, punching down at people who are now having their families suffer throughout this type of war. And I don't think you should just throw on the word Zionist either, like Frogan's doing, because here's the problem, okay? It genuinely, like, in my personal opinion, it genuinely like dismisses how problematic that can be. It's literally the ideology of creating a giant ethno state. Shit's genuinely crazy, right? And per Ethan's words, he's technically not. Now, the closest thing that you could say would be like he's a Zionist sympathizer, possibly, like very, very possibly. But I think that's more loose. I think he's more like he sympathizes with the people who are living there and who have the possibility of being killed, right? More than anything else.
Sense. Yeah,
he's been putting forth Zionist takes very frequently. If you believe so, I'd love to see it. I wanted to watch that Cavernacle video because I don't keep up with all these guys. What I'm talking about is just things that I saw when he was talking to, when he was doing his like, it's not Leftover. See you next Tuesday. I think his like subscriber only stream, and also when he was talking to Hassan, it seemed like they were pretty close on a lot of those issues. I didn't hear very much from Ethan that I think a lot of people would disagree with. I don't think Hassan even necessarily disagree with that much on those talks, but we'll see. He's def a Zionist though. He literally makes Zionist arguments. Sure. Wait, here.
You don't gotta be a Zionist to make
Your boy
Zionist
Hiku
arguments.
does Cavernacle in his video bring up Ethan's Zionist talking points?
Right? Can you
I want to know
make
yes
a
or no.
Zionist, like maybe
I believe so.
Really
okay, well, cool. We'll
agree
chill
with Zionism
because we're gonna watch the
accidentally,
video
like,
and then
he
we'll
doesn't
just see.
Realize that he's on the wrong
We'll just
side.
see. Let's see. What you got for me, Cav?
Didn't say a bad thing about the guy.
It just feels wrong to, like Ethan said, to glamorize something like that because that's just a dangerous idea.
That's my point, and I feel like that's a that's at least, even if you disagree, a good place to have to get indignant over and to call me a Zionist.
Mm-hmm.
If you call me a Zionist, you're an anti-Semite. You know why? Because I'm not a fucking Zionist. I made that exactly profoundly, deeply clear. So when you see someone on Twitter, when you see someone in the audience calling me a Zionist, what?
So what? Super chatted. Do a spin. Okay. Do a little spin because I think it's fun though. Nice to see you. Thanks for the 2. Appreciate you. So what? Now do a flip.
They're calling me as a Jew. Because that's the only goddamn thing that means at that point.
As people on the left, I guess we like to believe there are causes we believe in so strongly we would actually die for. I know there's definitely things I feel like I believe in so strongly I would die for. But would we actually? And it's a question like a lot of us might be thinking about recently with the sacrifice of Aaron Bushnell. And I don't know about you guys, but I can relate to him in many ways. Like, I wouldn't do what he did. And I'll keep it real, for multiple reasons, I wouldn't do that. But I can relate to the frustration. I can relate to the disgust. I can relate to just the feeling of, I have to do something.
Yeah,
and you know, I've been to the protests.
Felt that.
I've made loads of YouTube videos. I've been making videos on Israel for, years and years at this point. And it seems like it just gets worse. Nothing gets done. And with that frustration, like, what can I do as an individual? And in that sense, I totally respect what he did, because he used his position as someone in the biggest imperialist military in the entire world, which props up a system that oppresses most of us. They're the key architect of the capitalist system, which also means groups like the Palestinian become sacrificial lambs for capitalism. All the Arab states don't care because they're friends of Israel. Why? Because it benefits them to be pro-Western, pro-American, and by default, you've got to be pro-Israeli. Why do you think groups like the Saudis are even doing that recently? And in that, this whole prison we've created for ourselves, we just have to watch in 4K as a group of people get utterly decimated, destroyed, and have a genocide done against them by a nation state which resembles many colonial nation states, very similar to the United States, very
true. I want to skip to some.
Very true.
I want to skip to some parts of him talking about the specific statements. We don't watch the whole video.
Ethan Klein doesn't have nuance on this issue because it's not the Israeli government alone. Every single Israeli government has done this. Every single Israeli political party supports this. Most Israeli Jews support what's going on. I've shown polls from January where 95% say that they support what's going on or they want more of it. 40%, over 40% want more of it. Like, it's a deeply unwell society, deeply unwell, gripped by fascism, and it's continuously gotten worse and worse
Didn't say a bad thing about
since the establishment, where it's at its probably most right-wing fascist peak, where you have basically a whole group of the population just frothing at the mouth for genocide, and even though it's been going on for months, they still like it. So I'll get more into my thoughts on Ethan Klein's comments in a sec, including him saying that anyone who calls him a Zionist is just wanting to call him a Jew, which, if I'm going to be super charitable, he fundamentally doesn't understand like what Zionism really means. He seems to conflate it with supporting everything the Israeli government does right now, which it definitely doesn't mean that. So just before we go any further, this happened a couple days ago, but I was waiting until I made a more like Israel-specific video to shout this out. But basically, you know, my girlfriend, she wrote an interview with a crew in Gaza who ran a dance school for children, and it was one of the few places that they could find a welcome break from just, you know, actually living through a genocide. I'm sad to report the school was actually bombed by Israel, and 2 of the children died as well. So an update from their GoFundMe, which I'm going to link. Please go check this out. They need the resources still. They posted on the 28th. Tragic news, support needed. We are writing with a heavy heart to inform you that yesterday our dance school was bombed. The Camp Breakers dance school. Many children were killed and injured, including several of our family members. We are in despair. Rania and Tota, aged 9 and 5, were both killed along with their parents. They were happy students with big dreams. We are asking if anyone may be able to help with additional contributions to help repairing the damage or to share with your networks. We are increasing the fundraising target by $65 to $100,000. This will allow us to rebuild our studio and continue to support our students through activities and future workshops. Please help by donating or sharing with your networks every.
You know, the craziest thing about this is that these are some of the only activities that these kids can do besides just becoming a militant in Gaza. So, I mean, it was talked about in the ICJ case how Israel is destroying Gaza's past, their present, and their future as well. It's also like a big reason for why they supported Hamas to be in power in the first place. Help discredit their past, their present, and their future. I didn't take any time to do this, but thank you so much, Anonymous, for the 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much again for another gifted sub. I do really appreciate you for that. Thank you so much for the for the love. Thank you so much. Thank you. 6 before 6. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Anon.
Against China. And I wrote this in a comment on the actual podcast. Don't know if I ever read this, but they might, because they might get the notification because I have, you know, over 100,000 subscribers. I said, fundamentally, everything he said there shows no respect for the cause he died for. It's just, I respect his conviction to burn alive. We shouldn't glamorize that. And he did it well because, I don't know, he stood for long. I know he's like an edgy comedian, but it's just a gross joke. And I get sometimes, as a comedian, you're pushing the boundaries. He made a joke later on when the mic was messing up, saying it's the ghost of Aaron Bushnell haunting us. In my opinion, it's so tasteless, especially because of some of the stuff he said in the past. And it just really, like, minimizes everything this guy did. Because if you do respect his principles and his conviction, I don't think you'd be making this joke. And he does address this. I'm going to get into him addressing these comments. And the fundamental point of everything he said there is he can't empathize at all with what Aaron did because he doesn't care. And I said this in my comment to him as well on YouTube.
Ethan's a comedian. He considers himself a comedian. Here's the thing. I actually disagree with this point. I think you can make that joke and also care. I absolutely think that you can make that joke and also care.
Okay.
The problem comes in is when you make that joke and also not follow it up with the context around you specifically showing genuine reverence and showing respect for what he did. Besides, damn, he really burned himself alive. That's crazy. He stood that whole time, right? I think the problem comes in is that this is compounded on top of the other statements that he's made that made people angry with him. I feel like I or like someone else could make this type of joke back because that would be backed up by the type of statements that we have made before, like beforehand. It's basically what it is. It's how I would consider it is that it's an aggravating factor. It's an aggravating factor for what's going on. I don't think it's not bad in and of itself. Change it to specific people, and obviously it becomes better or worse for specifically what it is, right? As somebody who specifically his job is to be funny, bring like brevity to like more serious situations, you can make a joke like that without it being as bad, but to have the surrounding context that would make it more funny to make people want to even laugh a little bit, right? Because if he said that joke, is that the ghost of like Aaron Burnell? And then he talked about he's even fighting in the afterlife to save Gaza, you know, like stuff like that. I feel like surrounding it with stuff like that, I feel like people would be more apt to laugh instead of just get mad at him. But obviously he doesn't like what he did that much. Not necessarily like the protesting, but more about like the act itself. He has more criticisms about that. So obviously that coupled with even more criticism makes it less funny, or even not funny.
I don't think he cares about Palestine at all. I think because his audience lean left, he's paid lip service, and as we're going to see, he's saying, I'm saying all the things. I'm saying it's genocide, I'm saying it's apartheid, but you calling me a Zionist, that's too far, you're basically just calling me a Jew. And again, fundamentally, I think it shows he just wants to be left alone. Don't criticize me for believing Israel should exist. He's just getting really mad. He's getting so much criticism for his takes that he thinks are like very, very rational. And one more thing I want to note is like a lot of people like Ethan, not that he said it in.
Is Ethan being criticized for thinking Israel should exist? I don't know. Because I think even that isn't, because even I think that Israel just specifically shouldn't be allowed to exist. Even if a two-state solution, like specifically like a two-state solution is not something that's even worth considering. I believe that's even a minority position within the pro-Palestinian movement, and even the more fervent pro-Palestinian movement, right? I feel like that's even a more minority position, that even a two-state solution is not worth that. Like the idea that Israel should cease to exist, and even in that, then the people who are Jewish or Israeli should then be extradited or even be like, you know, cleansed from the land, and then Palestinians should be able to come back, and that's and then like a Palestinian state should be like just do reverse Nakba, right? I feel like that's even a more like minority position. I don't think he's necessarily being even criticized for that, really. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think that's the main criticism against him right now. Because I feel like most of the people who are criticizing him would agree with a two-state solution, if possible. One secular state for all. Yeah. I think it's pretty clear that he gets hate because he's not unironically towing the line. Because aesthetically pro-Palestinian rhetoric, so people begin with he's not championing Palestine. He must be pro-Israel, and then he reacts poorly. I think it's a couple things, like his poor reactions, and also calling out people who may not be may not fit under the label of being just like anti-Semitic, right? I think that's like the big crux of all of that, and not like him believing that an Israeli state should exist, or has a right to exist, or can exist. You can make the argument that keeping Israel as an ethno-state while creating a sovereign Palestinian state is still supporting Zionism. Well, if your argument is that Israel should be kept as a should be kept as an ethno state, sure. But if you don't like the idea of Israel being an ethno state, but Israel as a country as it exists, well, Israel as a country, it is possible for it to continue to exist, even though you disagree with policies enacted by Israel. That could be a policy, that could be a position that somebody could hold, right? That wouldn't technically be Zionist. No state solution. I still like my no state solution personally. You know, it's the most big brain it's the most big brain giga brain sheen, you know, like massive brain floating on the chair above the masses opinion, just like dissolve a state and just have it be controlled by the UN, and everybody gets a right to return. Even
let it be like a giant UN control, like the UN controls it.
Me. Everybody in the world gets the right to return.
I agree. That's fine.
Because we're all God's children.
That is big brain.
Yeah, and we'll name it Abraham. So true. Canar? Something God's plan praise. So true.
In the quotes I read, they're saying it's all because of mental health problems. Like, this guy wasn't well. Because you can't be mentally sound and do this. I mean, apparently if you're a monk you can, but if you're just an average guy in the military, you can't. And I would say you can. Plenty of things done in history which seem extraordinary or taken too far or extreme to us, they were done by people with totally sound minds. And loads of people in revolutionary movements or in war can go watch it because he did say it. I'm going to watch it right now. Have to resort to extreme measures to even put a bit of pressure on these governments. So let's listen to Ethan address it. I'm going to play you like a fair bit, maybe 4 minutes or something. It is from like a hours-long podcast. If I start talking about something he didn't say, I'll link the video. You guys can go watch it because he did say it. I'm going to watch it right now for about like 8 or 10 minutes, and then I'm going to react to it.
I guess some people are mad that I said suicide bad. Another hot take from Ethan Klein, the Zionist genocide supporter. They're mad about my comments about Aaron Bushnell on the See You Next Tuesday. My point was this. I think you should be careful about how you romanticize suicide because it's going to encourage more people to do it. That was my take. And that apparently enraged people. Unless I'm misunderstanding, tell me why. I'd love to know why. It's really annoying that like people just,
Bro, Ethan Klein is like slowly like he's like burning every bridge possible with the left. Like
stand by it. Like just waiting for any reason to call me, and by the way, call me a Zionist, make it about how I support genocide, about all this horrible shit to call me racist. Why? Because I made one stupid, insensitive joke. That, by the way, they didn't call his character into question.
I feel like his wife is the one who would be pushing these IDF fucking talking points onto him too. He was an American. He was in America.
It literally was just like he was really good, and my point was that, like his resolve was crazy, and the thing that really struck me about that video was how he stood there.
That was my first reaction.
And I was like, wow, I didn't even think that anybody could do that. So, I mean, I don't know how to talk about that, but his resolve was incredible. And what I said was he's really good at burning alive. And I mean that as the most sincere compliment possible. He really is.
And it's obviously also a really dark, like humoristic way to look at it.
So how are you going to take that and call me a racist, a genocidal, a monster? I mean, if you're coming at me with those kinds of takes, you are ensuring peace will never happen. Because you can't even have a
What does that have to do with peace? Ensuring peace will never happen. That's the weirdest talking point ever, and that's why we're fucking on to you, Ethan.
You can't even have any kind of dialogue where everybody isn't walking totally alone.
I mean, this is a weird. That's a weird. Like, bro, if you criticize me for this joke, there will never be peace in the Middle East.
There will never be peace because of you leftists.
Yo, listen, if you criticize me for my meme, you are destroying peace in the Middle East.
You're helping BB Netanyahu.
Come on. Listen, I don't know. Listen, you can just be upset that people got mad at you, and you could think that they're wrong, but like I don't think this is like hampering peace in the Middle East, brother. I don't think this is what'll do it. I mean, you have to admit, like even the thing that he was doing, which is like, possibly even minimizing or like don't romanticize, would be more by getting people to which would get people to be more likely to dismiss what he did in the Palestinian movement and the Palestinian movement and their wants and wishes than just being like, hey dude, bad joke, right?
Aligned with you. I never said a single bad thing about that man, other than the compliment, not even compliment because it's weird to say, but his resolve is nuts. His resolve was really remarkable. That's what I said. And that's what the joke was. If you can't deal with it, then, you're a hypocrite. Because I make these jokes about all different topics, about all different sensitive things, about all different groups of people.
Like, Ethan Klein will be like, yo, Aaron Bushnell makes some good wood. He makes some good wood for my Minecraft furnace.
Show. And then when it lightly brushes on your shoulder, you freak the fuck out and you bitch and you cry and you go and you try to find any reason to you know what I mean, to get angry. Give me a break. Look in the mirror, loser. You're the problem. You are the problem.
Him like playing some sort of victim. You made the joke, dude. I know you did it and thought you were in like some private safe space where you could really say what you think, but you made the joke. So take the heat. You made a gross joke about someone who died for their convictions, a principled man who died for his convictions. Don't care if you agree with it or not. If you actually respected what he did, like you said you did, you wouldn't have made these gross jokes.
Yeah, we said that. We saw that.
For calling me.
I did actually see that. I hope you don't dislike me skipping around. I did actually just literally say that when we watched it originally.
A racist, calling you genocidal, a Zionist, which, by the way, Zionist is just another slur for Jew, being a Jew. You know how many people now calling every Jew a Zionist?
No, dude.
It's like, okay, just call me a Jew and get it over with. Call me the K. Any reason to, you know what I mean, to get angry? Give me a
Joe
break.
Biden is
Look in the mirror, loser. You're the problem. You are the.
Joe Biden is literally like Irish and Catholic. And he said, "I am a Zionist." You don't need to be Jewish, bro. You can be anybody and be a Zionist. I could be, you could be a Cuban, you could be a fucking Cuban communist expat and be a Zionist.
The problem.
Him like playing some sort of victim. You made the joke, dude. I know you did it and thought you were in like some private safe space where you could really say what you think, but you made the joke. So take the heat. You made a gross joke about someone who died for their convictions, a principled man who died for his convictions. Don't care if you agree with it or not. If you actually respected what he did, like you said you did, you wouldn't have made these gross jokes.
Yeah, we said that. We saw that.
For calling me.
I did actually see that. I hope you don't dislike me skipping around. I did actually just literally say that when we watched it originally.
A racist, calling you genocidal, a Zionist, which, by the way, Zionist is just another slur for Jew, being a Jew. You know how many people now calling every Jew a Zionist? It's like, okay, just call me a Jew and get it over with. Call me the K word, at least I'll know what you mean. It's just the truth. Not everybody, not all the time, but a lot of times, let's not pretend that anti-Semitism isn't a massive inferno of acceptable behavior right now on the left and the right. Nazis and leftists are dabbing the up, saying Zionists. You know, and
dude, I feel like Ethan Klein thinks that tankies are leftists. He thinks that those fucking far right Russia, pro Russia tanky motherfuckers are leftists. He's probably watching Jackson Hinkle. Motherfucker's probably looking at Jackson Hinkle's account with a pro Palestine flag, because you know that guy's a fucking grifter, and he's probably like, oh, this dude's a lefty. He's a lefty. even though Jackson Hinkle went to Russia and shit. He went to Russia and like got on a tank and shit. So Ethan Klein's on Twitter probably looking at Jackson Hinkle and shit with a Palestine flag and thinking that they're leftists. You fucking serious? They're not fucking leftists, dude. Get off of Twitter, man.
You know,
I'm not sure if I would say anti-Semitism is specifically. I wouldn't say anti-Semitism is like so. It's like so passable right now. Especially with, I've seen, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I've seen a lot of movements recently, like kick out a lot of people who've said things pretty anti-Semitic, right? I've seen people criticize but sympathize with people who've said things that toe the line, right? I've seen that before, but he may get mad at that, which you can get mad at that, whatever. But I haven't seen somebody be like, boy, I like wake up and be like, boy, I hate Jews. I can't wait to hate a Jew today, boy. Like I've never, and then people go like, woo, woo. I've never seen that before. In my personal opinion, is it out there? I mean, probably. There's probably something like that out there. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like there aren't evil people who say terrible things on the internet. I'm not stupid. But I just personally haven't seen that nearly as much. I've seen a lot of conservatives I've seen a lot of conservatives recently like re-up their like anti-George Soros. I've seen people like Charlie Kirk, but I feel like I've seen people like Charlie Kirk talk specifically about how we need to how they need to talk about how they need to be careful of the duplicitous Jewish organization who works for DIE and civil rights, who's using Israel's power to subvert democracy or whatever, right? I've seen conservatives say stuff like that recently, and even want to distance themselves from like from not like Israeli but specifically Jewish organizations because they think that they're far left monsters working for like the Great Replacement or whatever, like actually just doing just straight up anti-Semitic talking points like all the time. I've seen a lot of that stuff personally, and that's actually just a mainstream talking point for this is like a mainstream talking point for conservatives. Christian Zionists are inherently anti-Semitic. The talking point that I hate the most is that people say, and Biden says it a lot, like he says like no Jew would be safe if Israel didn't exist. Some of the most bum ass cuck shit I've ever heard in my entire life. The United States is like, outside of Israel, the United States holds the #1 Jewish population in the entire country, and Jews in this country are safer than they are in Israel, and honestly ever have been. More Jewish people die, and a higher percentage of Jewish people die in Israel due to anti-Semitism and also like crimes against them than the United States. Like, kind of period. It's crazy to me. If that statement would be true, it'd be way more true about the United States than Israel.
Again, it's driving me insane. I gotta talk about it. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like there's just not a tidal wave of anti-Semitism gobbling up the entire discourse. It's fucking disgusting, man. And I'm doing, as an Israeli dual citizen, as someone who's deeply invested.
I would say maybe there's like an undercurrent of anti-Semitism. Like, I think it's there, right? I think, like, well, once again, I think there are genuinely people who are like actually pretty anti-Semitic. Oh, one of the big people, Bad Empanada, like that content creator, bro, actually believes that everybody who is Israeli should be like extrajudiciously like executed.
Yeah.
By Hamas.
People
Like that guy actually believes that all Jews in Israel should die.
Whatever
I think that's the only person that I've like near the left who I've seen genuinely believes that like all civilians, men, women, and children in Israel, and anybody who's been to Israel, anybody who even thinks that Israel there's a possibility for Israel as a state to even exist, should simply just be executed, right? Like that. I think that's the only person who I've seen who's like on the left say something like that before.
In the state of Israel, who's probably more sympathetic to the Israeli perspective than most people would be. I've tried so hard to pull myself to some kind of central ground where we can have a real conversation about this stuff. I'm pulled myself.
Okay, here's my thing.
Okay.
Who's we? Okay, who is we? Is it like people on Twitter who are being mean to you? Who is we?
Dude, he needs to get off
is it like
Twitter,
people in your comment section? Like, who is
Ethan Klein? Please get off of Twitter, dude. It's gonna blow your brain up.
We? Like, who's we here? Because there's probably they usually average around like 40,000 viewers or something. There are probably like 30,000 viewers in there who completely agree with him and think people are being too mean to him. I just do not believe that there's like his entire community that he's talking about when he says we. Does he? Because I think what he means we is like some guy on Twitter that hates him.
Yeah, literally.
There's some lefty on Twitter who has the watermelon emoji in their name, who's named Free Palestine, Free Palestine Now, who their #1 word used in the last like 4 months is the word like settler colonial. Sorry, the #1 term is settler colonial. Who absolutely hates this man's guts, but that's just kind of like who's we here, man? That's what I want to know. Who's he talking to?
True.
Is he talking to people on Twitter who don't like him? Because it just seems like to me that there are way more people who are agreeing, way more people who are either sympathetic to him or agreeing with him than people who don't like him. And also, he said he was going to stop talking about this, but he's just chosen not to. And it seems like it's just making his life worse.
Yo, yeah, he needs to stop talking
bro,
about
speaking
this now.
French. Yeah, who's we? Who's we?
We.
I just want to know. I mean, it seemed like Cav doesn't like him, so maybe this guy. Does it seem like Cav really doesn't like this guy? So maybe.
All the way to, outright saying that it's apartheid, that it's genocide, that the Israeli government is committing. And so, but you still want to call me a racist and a genocide and a Zionist. Why would you call me a Zionist if it wasn't just, oh, you're a Jew? When I have said all the things that you want to hear from me, I'm not going to sit here and be,
Who
let
called
my
you this,
people,
man? Who called you
be
a
openly
Zionist?
bigoted and
Who?
racist. That shit. Nobody would expect that from any other minority. Nobody. And I'm here. I'm with you. I'm on your side.
You
all the way.
Zionism.
I'm on your side as much as I possibly can.
You conflated Zionism with Judaism, which is very weird. Us leftists have told you that. Can't do that. It's very anti-Semitic to do that. But who the fuck is calling you? Who's calling you a Zionist?
Can be. And instead of holding hands and having a real conversation, you spit my face
calling you
and
a
you call me a
Zionist?
Zionist to get indignant over and to call me a Zionist.
Mm-hmm.
If you call me a Zionist, you're anti-Semite. You know why? Because I'm not a fucking Zionist and I made that.
Grifters who are using Palestine to actually push anti-Semitism. My whole